What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameFace, episode 415 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. We're here to talk about the last really awesome video games of 2024, and alongside to do that is Matt Keil. What's going on, Matt? How's your week been?
A lot of games at once.
Yeah? I tried. You guys probably know I mentioned last week that my mother has been in town for the last week. In fact, after last week's show, I went pretty much straight to the airport to pick her up. She's still here. She leaves tonight, like in the middle of the night. But it has been crazy, Matt, trying to slide in gameplay time while making sure I'm going out with my mom every day and showing her the town and everything. It's been awesome for her to be here. But then, man, just getting ready for this show. I'm so glad the show is here because I've literally been stressed out all week. Being like, am I be able to get all this stuff done for the show with my mom here, blah, blah, blah. I did it somehow.
I thought you meant here, like in my house.
No.
So you don't have to bring her with you.
No. I love spending time with my mom.
She's right off camera. We just stashed her in the guest room.
She's actually sitting at home right now watching TV waiting for me to get back. So she's been a trooper in some ways because she's like, my mom, I think, finally got what I do this week. I think she finally figured out that it isn't me. I think she thought that I would play a game for 20 minutes and that would be it. And then I make a review on 20. I started playing Marvel Rivals, which we're going to talk about today. And I had literally played it for 30 minutes. And she's like, so you're good, right? And I was like, no. A game like this, you need to play for 15 hours to figure out how all the characters work with each other and how balanced. And it just went whoosh, right over her head. But I think she understands now because she just saw me busting butt all week. In between the times we would go out in the city and do fun stuff. And we did do a lot of fun stuff. But I think she has a new appreciation for what her son Shane does after being around me this week. But I did get mostly everything done. I will admit there's one game I wish I had played a little bit more than I did. I just couldn't. Literally every moment of this week has been either taking my mom around and doing stuff. We went to see The Price is Right, which is her favorite show or whatever. Didn't get called up, which sucks. Have you ever done The Price is Right?
No.
It's they interview every single person in the studio audience. They have a whole system set up where they bring you in and give you a number. It is a crazy production, man.
Nothing is by accident on TV.
Oh, it's insane. And I'll say this, they give you a fair shot to make an impression and get on the show. They come to you and they're like, okay, here's your 30 seconds. Convince us that you should be on the show. And most people are just like, this is my job that I do, and I'm from blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, you can kind of pick out who's going to be on the show before the show happens. It's usually the people who have made the special T-shirts that say, I'm here for Carrie.
Acting like a lunatic.
Pretty much.
You couldn't pick me. I just sort of walked down. Okay. Yeah, we know.
I was just like, I have the most awesome job in the world. I review video games for a living. I was trying to get my mom on. So I used my time to pump up my mom to try to get my mom on the show. I was like, she's a third generation fan of The Price is Right. She came all the way from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Take it away. And my mom was like, I'm an EMT chaplain. You know how TV is big and bombastic. And so anyway, it's been a fun week, but crazy trying to get everything done for the show. We did it. Matt, I think we're doing our last show on Monday. Is that what's going to work for you?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's going to work for me too. So just some housekeeping before we get going into some other stuff. Our last shows will be on Monday, so not too long from now. And the first part of that broadcast will be a very short episode of GameFace where we go over the big stuff from the Game Awards. We're not going to go every game at the Game Awards. We'll probably have the top 10 or 15
very
maybe.
Short. It'd be 2 hours.
I don't know, though. Oh, no. Well, so we're going to do that, and then we'll do our Game of the Year awards after that. So we'll break down for 5 minutes, set up for the Game of the Year awards, and overall the broadcast will probably be about the same length, but it'll be broken up into kind of two different things. And then we'll be done for 2024, which is pretty crazy to think about. It's been a crazy year, full of ups and downs, and it's just been... 2024 has definitely been an interesting year in video games, and I just want to thank all you guys for being along for the ride with us. Hopefully we provided some context and some fun to all of the insanity. So anyway, it's been a crazy week, and then I do this next week. It's going to be just as crazy because I have to get content ready for you guys that runs while I am gone for the holidays from December 19th until I get back on January 1st or 2nd ish. So anyway, I'll be very happy when I finally get on that plane on the 19th to go to the East Coast. That means all this whole marathon of 3 or 4 weeks of really hard work will be over. And then I still have to do a little bit. I'll be working a little bit from the East Coast, but nothing like I've been doing now. So anyway, that's kind of our plan for the rest of the year. Couple things before we get going. We are supported 100% at patreon.com/SIFTD. See that list down below that's starting to scroll right now? These are the SIFTD Patreon All-Stars. These are the folks who pledge at $30 or more per month, and actually they're the ones who really make sure that the show happens. If you really like the show, you really want to make sure that it survives and continues, might want to consider going for that, bumping it up to that $30 pledge. That would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. Again, they are really the lifeblood that keeps GameFace going. We appreciate it very much. And then if you just want to drop us a normal pledge at patreon.com/SIFTD at $4 a month, you get all our content early. We get this show like 4 days early, Factor a week early. And if you have no money and you have an Amazon Prime sub, you can subscribe with Twitch Prime. In fact, there's 1 million people doing that right now. And I'm just going to cut to our chat and thank them, because this also is really a lifeblood for us. It's really something that like keeps us afloat. So I want to make sure I recognize everybody who goes the extra mile and does this for us. Let's see here. Where did it start? Wow, we got a bunch already. We were listening to Chemical Brothers before the show today. Pharaoh Doll gifted Mighty Pony Girl a sub. That's awesome. Thank you, Pharaoh Doll. What else we got here? Mellow Pintor, thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. J Reed Vic 7, thank you. J Reed Vic, it looks like your documentary on Madden has done very, very well. Congratulations on that. Mitchell Ness, thank you for subscribing. You're here every week, and you're an awesome part of our community and our chat. We appreciate you. Who else we got in here? Surly Mexican, thank you for Twitch Prime. Epic Store Code. Is Silkschnitt giving something away? Is that what that is there?
Epic Store Code.
Giving away a game. Be quick on the draw. That's why you got to show up for the show live. You get free games from people in our chat. What else we got in here? Glotus021, thank you for Twitch Prime. Andy T. Monahan, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1 for 56 freaking months. That's awesome. Who else we got in here? Mike's Q, thank you. Hope you're doing good, man. I'll be heading back to Central PA real soon here, and we'll be very close to you, and I'm sure I'll go to Lancaster again to hit the Apple Store, because there isn't one anywhere near my mom's house. Talika1981, thank you. Ham X Hops, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Justin Horman, thanks for subscribing at Tier 3 for 90 months. A 90-month streak, which is incredible. Stolte69, thank you. What else we got in here? Don Lionheart, Iviz. Khalib Twilai dropping a bunch of subs in our chat. Thank you, Khalib Twilai. That's awesome. Everyone's in the holiday spirit. I love it. Noxatornitis, thank you for Twitch Prime. You guys are all awesome. You guys all know I love you guys. We've been riding this SIFTD train for almost a decade together, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You guys are absolutely incredible. Okay, I think that's it for now. As people join later on, try to find a break to give us your Twitch Prime so I can recognize you guys. It really matters to me. Slagathor, thank you for Twitch Prime, jumping in there at the last second. It really matters to me to be able to say thanks. So if you can, try to wait till Matt and I are going to chat or we have a little bit of a break in the conversation so I can say thank you. It really makes a difference to me.
Try not to, and I'm going to have to remember this too, try not to whack your hand down on the table because it scares her.
Okay.
And she doesn't feel very good today.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to stay up here if she can. Oddly
enough, I do not feel great either. We got a real live Christmas tree for the first time in like 8 years, and it is crushing my allergies. I had to take allergy medicine for the last couple of days to get rid of it, and it is working, so it is allergies, but we hadn't got a tree in forever because we get a tree, and then we go back to the East Coast, and when we come back, you touch that tree, and all the needles just go right onto the ground. I actually take our tree mat, and I throw it off the deck of our apartment on the 3rd story. My wife will go down to the street, and she'll make sure the coast is clear, and I will throw the tree off the balcony. It lands on the sidewalk, all the needles go everywhere, and then I pick up the tree and drag it into our dumpster. So anyway, lots of stuff to look forward to after the holidays. What is up with Luna, actually?
She'd thrown up some food when I came down this morning, and then she drank some water after you got here, and then she threw the water up because she hadn't eaten any food.
Oh, geez.
Cats will do that if they don't have enough food. So I'm keeping an eye on her. If she does it again in the next day or so, she's going in.
Going into the vet.
Which is...
You can rally, Luna. You got this.
I already spent $6,000 on car repairs. I don't need to spend on cat repairs.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What went wrong with your car?
Well, I brought it in to replace tires because they were shot, they were done. They were 7 years old almost, and there was dry rot. And so I replaced those. That was $2,000. And then they found an oil leak in the engine and had to replace the cam housing, the upper cam housing, and reseal the whole thing.
No.
So yeah, it was a very expensive.
Lots of labor.
It's a 10-year-old Audi. It's starting to get. Audis either last 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah, and nothing beyond that.
We are in year 10 now, and I guess we're about to start learning what it's like to have no warranty.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I'm like, I guess it's time to think about other cars, but like, God, I don't like any of the other cars in the market.
I've really struggled to find new cars that I like.
I keep thinking about like, oh, I should get one with like, more cargo space or something, because I'm like almost 50 and you're supposed to be able to, I don't know, carry a cooler or something. But like,
that's funny.
I just it all looks so blah.
Also, you and I both drive so little. Like,
yeah, we just drive in the city. Really.
Yeah, we don't drive that much, so it's like my car is really old, but it only has 40,000 miles.
And I love that
I
have a TT, so it's like this tiny little thing that can weave in and out of traffic and park just about anywhere. And it's
great for the city,
parallel streets of the city of angels, so to speak. And it's a good car for this town. Although frustrating sometimes when you're like, get out of the way.
Well, you want to go,
like, just move.
Yep. You can't really drive your car here.
Especially when it's like you're stuck behind like a Tesla that's going like 20.
Right.
And you're like, I know you can go faster than that. I've driven you. Like, you can go faster than me. Like
yep.
Like, I cannot out-accelerate a Tesla. Like, if you really stomp on it, a Tesla's going to out-accelerate
anything.
Yeah. But these people just crawl up the fucking on-ramp.
Because they probably have it on like auto drive or something.
Auto drive would be more competent than these people.
Let's see. Did we hit the hype train? I know we just got an emote. David Nordic, thank you for Twitch Prime. Everyone's chipping in today. It's awesome. AJ Legend Watson says it's always something. Yeah, once your car gets to a certain age, things just start going wrong. Even if it doesn't have a lot of miles, it's like your tires were dry rotted.
Yeah.
It's not because you drove them a lot. It's
they weren't driven to they just were old, and they're soft tires. They're racing tires.
Yeah.
So
and they wear down faster too.
Yeah, they wear down faster, and they're not rot gets in it, but that gets in anything. I got a board game this week that it comes with a cloth bag to draw stuff out of. It's covered in mold. Yeah, because they forgot to put the silica packs.
Wow, I didn't realize that's what those did.
That's one of the things they do.
Interesting.
Yeah, basically, if sometimes components go into a product and they're still damp from production, especially if there's printed stuff. And if there's cloth or wood in the product, that can cause mold or dry rot in them. And so that's what those silica packets generally do.
Learn something new every time you watch GameFace.
But they have only put the silica packets in the sealed bags of the components. They did not put one just in the box. So almost everyone's bag is moldy.
Wow.
So they have to replace all of them.
That's crazy. That's actually really crazy. So anyway, that's kind of the lay of the land again on Monday, not on Tuesday of next week. We'll be doing the final episode of GameFace, which will be shorter, and we'll be doing our Game of the Year awards.
Yeah, see, Mike's Q, 2009 Outback and a 2009 RAV4 was nothing kills the RAV4.
No, I mean those things do last forever, man. I mean Toyotas in general, Hondas, they just run forever.
Yeah. Mitchell Ness, I got the Last of Us board game, but it's a gift, so I haven't opened it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You saw that last week on the way out.
Yeah, I did. Yep. Matt has so many board games. It's really impossible to keep track of all the ones you have.
I can keep track of them.
You can. But for me, I'm like drive-by learning, It's like it's hard for me to remember all the ones that you show me. But that one looked pretty cool, actually. A little different from a lot of other ones.
It's all black and white and grayscale and line art and almost pencil sketch.
Had the aesthetics for sure. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. That's kind of the lay of the land. I think we're ready to get into headlines. I do think the show might be a little bit shorter than usual today. We are, by the way, I didn't tease the show. We are reviewing...
At this point, just take a shot every time he says that.
Yeah, you might be drunk. We're reviewing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle today, which some people have kind of pegged it as a Game of the Year contender. We'll see what we think about it. We're reviewing Marvel Rivals.
In December.
It's a little late.
Us, we count. We
will count it.
Cut out.
Right? Oh yeah, we'll count it. Absolutely, it'll be a part of our Game of the Year awards for sure. And then Marvel Rivals we're reviewing today, and then Infinity Nikki. Both those games, by the way, already have 10 million people playing them. That's crazy.
So it's like, how you doing, Concord devs?
Yeah. How did they not?
Like you can break in to that space if you
make something people want.
Something really good that uses the most popular IP on the planet after Pokemon.
Yeah.
So like that's all you had to do.
I mean, they could have made a hero shooter that was just like all PlayStation heroes.
Yeah.
Seriously. It would have been more effective than Concord.
I don't know exactly what this... I mean, you remember when we first saw that trailer, and 30 seconds in, I'm just like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to even look at this longer, let alone play it. And I can't fully explain why Concord made me so want to just turn the TV off. I can't even fucking really tell you in words why, but just 30 seconds into that trailer, I'm just like, I hate you and I don't want to look at you anymore. And
you're like that from a minute.
I was not the only one.
Yeah.
See also Suicide Squad. I had that same response to that. And
which, by the way, is now dead, basically.
Yeah.
They're releasing their last DLC, Season 4.
Yeah, last season stuff is going to be in January, and they're adding an offline mode, which they magically can now.
And they could have done all along. Yeah.
Weird how that works. Game didn't even last a year.
Yeah.
Which is less time than the delay from that gameplay reveal to the release. What a waste of Rocksteady's time.
It really was.
An absolute waste of everyone's time.
I think if there's anything that makes me feel better about it, is that Rocksteady will not work on another one.
Yeah. Well, the thing that makes me feel better about it is I was completely right the whole time.
Yeah.
I never was into that.
Yeah, you weren't. Yeah. You had pegged the whole time.
But
all right.
I do that. See also Balatro.
Right. Yeah.
Not always just negative stuff. Sometimes I call the good stuff.
By the way, there are outlets giving that game a year.
I saw it.
I've already seen some.
What was it? I saw one of the big ones gave it.
Was it PC Gamer, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know if I consider PC Gamer a big one anymore. I can't remember. It was.
Is there a big one anymore?
It was Polygon. Was it Polygon?
Maybe.
I don't know. It was.
I did see one of the big ones.
It was a big enough outlet that I'm like, I'm actually going to look at this.
Yeah.
So there you go. So.
That's funny. Okay, let's get into the headlines for episode 415. So today's episode is the area code for San Francisco, and a few episodes ago we had the area code for Pittsburgh. I don't think we'll have a significant one, another one for a while though. But first headline, obviously the biggest story of the week is something that hasn't quite happened yet, and that is that the Game Awards are happening tomorrow night. Jeff Keighley's big throwdown in Los Angeles is kind of turned out at this point to be the replacement for E3 in a lot of ways.
Well, except E3 isn't just a bunch of trailers and bullshit, but masquerading as an award show. E3 was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't appreciate your ruse, ma'am. Is kind of my response. That's my response to the Please Wrap It Up Awards, as Matt McMuscles calls it. Yeah, it's...
this guy's going to be back.
Of course he's going to be back. He's going to be back. You're going to be an incredibly embarrassing Muppets section.
His brand new game is going to be announced there.
There's going to be everything.
Another cooperative game, shocker.
The trailer for the hype of the Game of the Year nominees had more Death Stranding 2 footage in it than any of the nominees.
Really?
Yeah. Who the fuck is fooled by this shit anymore? It's a 3-hour commercial. Pretending to be an award show anyone cares about. It's so fucking tiresome at this point.
I honestly think most people just care about the reveals. For example,
100%.
before the show started today, people weren't talking about the awards.
You get rid of the commercials and see who tunes in.
Right.
I mean, there's everyone talks about, I'm so tired of people care because they get emotional, prestigious award. It's no fucking, if there's such prestigious awards, how come he doesn't put them all on stage instead of reeling off a bunch of winners in between pitches to the next fucking trailer?
Because he knows people will stop watching if that's all it is.
Nobody fucking gives a shit.
They don't care. Yeah, it's true. But that's not his fault. That's the audience's fault, really.
I mean, it's his fault for not making it something anyone. I mean, what can he do though? He's not industry in terms of peer
he needs to make money. I mean, if he can't make money just doing a straight award show, I don't think, or certainly not as much.
I don't think he's here to do an award show. I think he's here to do a big commercial, just like the Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
So he came up with the awards to give
as a Trojan horse.
Yeah, and it's a good reason to get the fucking developers in town.
Right. Yeah, because they'll show up.
If you want to give somebody a trophy, they'll probably show up.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Game Awards
are free booze.
Are tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. There is a pre-show that starts 30 minutes before that. If you want to see a bunch of indie trailers, show up then. If you want to see the real show, show up at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, as always, we'll be curating every trailer, every big reveal on SIFTD as it happens. Honestly, it's almost instantaneous. There's no other gaming website on the internet that has the content from the Game Awards or any other big event more quickly than SIFTD does. So if you don't want to watch the show, I mean, I'm not going to judge on why that may be, but if you don't want to watch the show and you just want to see all the big reveals, just come to SIFTD.net, or better yet, just go to the trailers channel on SIFTD.net, and they'll all be there. And we'll put out a tweet that has, a link to our trailers page so you guys can go and check them out. But anyway, also, if you miss the show tomorrow, maybe you're working or you have other commitments, and you just want to see all this stuff, again, go to SIFTD.net. You go to other websites, you have to go scattershot through their webpage to try to find stuff. We have everything nice and tidied up for you. I think we're the best way to experience any sort of an event like this. And the hype is starting to build. So a couple things that have been confirmed. Joseph Fares' new game's going to be there. Another cooperative game, obviously. That's what Hazelight does. We're going to see 2 games from Take-Two. We're going to see Borderlands 4, which sounds like it's going to be a significant reveal and not just another trailer. And then we're going to see the new Mafia game.
If you can tell the difference between it and Borderlands 3.
Right. And we're going to see the new Mafia game. And that's really all I've seen leak out so far. Have you seen anything else, Matt?
No. I saw that one guy who was like, this is going to be huge and hype. I'm not just guessing it's going to be, but like, who the fucking knows?
Who was it? Who said that?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. He's one of those leaker people that most people seem to put some credence behind, but I don't remember. It begins with M, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't actually care about anything. I'll care when it happens, and of course everyone's like, "Oh, Bloodborne PC," and all. Of course, it's almost like, guys,
same dreams
give me
every
a
time.
fucking break. Like, yeah, maybe Silksong will shadow drop. Well, as long as we're making shit up, like, come on.
That would be a Christmas miracle.
I don't. Come on.
Imagine if I got to add that to my fantasy team at literally the 11th hour. That'd be crazy.
I mean, it'd be better than your.
My alternates, that's for sure. No doubt about that. So you're not very excited for them? Like, I'm excited for the reveals. I want to check out some of the trailers and stuff.
It's just a bunch of videos. Like,
I'm still excited to watch them.
I'm not. I'll wait and see what they are. Hopefully, there'll be a couple things that I care about. A year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years.
What if we get to see the new BioShock finally?
Oh my God, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Really? You don't care about seeing the new BioShock?
How would I care about BioShock made by a bunch of yahoos? That's not the people that made BioShock.
Just out of curiosity.
Fuck that. It's fucking done. I only liked one of those games anyway.
Wow.
I like BioShock 1. BioShock Infinite is not very good, and BioShock 2 had one good DLC, and I don't like the main game. So no, BioShock doesn't interest me, especially if it's not from the people who made BioShock 1. I'm interested in Judas.
Yeah, I mean, Judas might have a presence there as well. It's due for
Making
like
another
a big
BioShock
blow-up.
is just Take-Two trying to cash in on the fact that people know what that is and will probably buy it blind.
I mean, it could be good. Like, I didn't think that Guerrilla was going to be good at making an action RPG, and they made one of the best ones in, like, 10 years.
But I did, so...
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just expectations versus reality, though.
But, like, my speculation was that was something they'd been thinking about making for a long, long time. BioShock, to me, is probably just something that was assigned to these people.
It is. I mean, for sure.
Those are two very different situations.
I just think that the team that's working on it is probably I know for a fact that there are some very talented people.
I'm not saying they're going to try to make a bad game. I'm just saying, like, BioShock is a very specific thing made by very specific people at the time who couldn't even follow up on their own idea very well.
Yeah.
And I don't see how a bunch of people, 17 years removed from that are going to come up with something good.
Which is crazy to think about,
Even the people that have tried to rip off BioShock and the BioShock alikes like Singularity and all that have never really managed to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like it was very much lightning in
It's
the
hard.
bottle.
It's not easy.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic for sure. What about the chances of seeing anything Switch 2 related?
0. 100% 0.
I'd give it like a 10% chance.
0.
Yeah.
No one gets to mention Switch 2 unless someone just breaks fucking NDA or something.
There's another case.
There's no possible fucking way anything Switch 2 is mentioned for the first time on Keeley's show.
Yeah.
None. Nintendo will never let that happen outside of their control. 0.
Yeah, and yet another Switch
the best
case
you'll
is
get
that
is
2
like,
cases out there.
You'll get like maybe Doug Bowser up there being like, well, you might have something fun next year. Maybe you'll get like a tease of the month the Direct takes place in.
Right, yeah.
The best we got right now is the rumor that they're doing a Switch 2 event something in May, which to me says like
Q4
release date, like announcement, like system announcement January, February, blowout, like here's the games and launch info and release date in May, and it comes out, whenever, like
September,
August,
September. Yeah.
No, anyone expecting Switch 2 Thursday is don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And by the way,
Nintendo wouldn't do that. Nintendo is control freaks for good reason, really. They're good control freaks. They're like, if they haven't announced it first, it's just like Rockstar. Like, Rockstar's not going to fucking do some blowout GTA thing. They would do that now today. If they're, just like last year, they're like, oh, we're just going to put this up the week before Jeff does his show.
It's been a year since the last one.
Yeah, 100%.
They might work with Jeff on another trailer.
They don't need to.
They don't need to, but they might still.
They won't.
Yeah.
I mean, cool if they do. I'd like to see something from it, just to see how it's, it's a little more or whatever. Everyone wants a little more whatever, see what this thing is. But I just don't see
Their fans are losing their minds right now, GTA fans. Also, by the way, I keep saying that the Game Awards are tomorrow. That's because most people are going to watch the archive of this. So apologies to our live crew who are like, wait a minute, the Game Awards aren't tomorrow. I'm speaking to people who are going to be watching this on Wednesday, which is when the bulk of the people end up watching the show. So anyway, J. Reed Vic says Diddy Kong Racing Remastered. It's a bone they'd throw Jeff.
I mean, I wouldn't count that one out.
Ashes in the Hourglass does bring up Metroid Prime 4.
They're not going to show that, though, because they're going to want to show it running on Switch 2 hardware.
Yeah.
There's no way.
What if they show it and it looks like too good to be a Switch game and it's just a mystery?
They just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Nintendo just doesn't do that.
Yeah.
That would be very out of character.
Yeah.
And they don't need to. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Like they hold all the cards of anybody in the industry right now. They hold all the cards. Them and GTA 6 do not need to do anything they don't want to do. That's all in their court. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection 2 would be interesting. I agree with that. But would Jeff allow that to happen with Kojima in the house?
No. Vincent says maybe the Metroid Prime 2 remaster might show up here.
Maybe. The rumor is they have remasters of Prime 2 and 3 ready to go whenever they want. So, yeah, that could be. I mean, buy yourself some time with that. I'm into that. I wouldn't mind playing Prime 2 again.
It's not my favorite Prime game.
It is not, but my favorite is 1, and they already did that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You might as well get the other 2 out. I'm all for rescuing more games off of the previous system.
Yeah. Matter of fact says Jason Schreier is saying that there will be 2 crazy reveals that we would never expect to be at the Game Awards, but I'll be honest with you, every game should be at the Game Awards. There's no real E3 anymore, so I expect everything to be at the Game Awards that would be at an E3 normally. So
well, I mean, the ones I would say that the things that would be in that category are things like GTA 6, where I would never expect Rockstar to bother working with anybody.
Right.
Because they don't need to.
Or Switch 2.
Yeah, that's not a game.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do like the new Mario or something.
3D Mario or a game for Switch 2.
But just why?
Yeah.
Why, I mean,
I tend to agree with you.
At the best, you get like a title. They'd be like, here's the logo for the new Mario game, the Super Mario. Super Mario Manhunt. That's unfortunate. Like, coincidental. But I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of does he mean like games you'd never expect at TGA because you wouldn't expect that game to bother with TGA, or games you never expect at TGA because you don't expect that game to exist?
I don't know.
Because that could be Bloodborne.
I didn't hear any of this. It's just coming from our chat.
Because that could be Bloodborne too. Like it could be, you don't expect Bloodborne Remastered to ever happen or Bloodborne 2 to ever be made.
People are freaking out because that official 30th anniversary video that PlayStation put out, at the end, it has Bloodborne.
And it said Persistence.
Yeah. So fans are freaking out thinking either it's a remaster or Bloodborne 2 or something along those lines.
If it's Bloodborne 2, it's not from.
Yeah.
So that seems like the monkey's paw.
Yeah, who would really want that?
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would.
I mean, I wouldn't argue with the PC version. It'd be nice to see what some of those monsters are in clear.
Yeah.
So you play that now, and I mean, not that it looks bad, but you look at it and you're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It's a little blobby for modern systems, but I don't know. Like, I mean, there's your automatic A+ rating from a bunch of people, but
J. Reed Vic
it would explain why they're being so weirdly nice to Shadows of the Erd Tree.
Mm-hmm. Possible. J. Reed Vic 7 says it's hard to guess surprises, particularly in this industry, because there are so few.
True.
Yeah, there aren't many anymore. There just aren't, sadly.
Like games I wouldn't expect to be there. Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah. JMRay99, thank you for Twitch Prime, brother. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're ready for the holiday season.
Like that's something that Ubisoft definitely needs the boost. So who knows?
Yeah.
Like they might go all out if they have something ready to show for something. God knows what that would be.
And Vincent does remind us that Tekken 8 will reveal its final character at the show. That's already been confirmed, and something Warframe will be there.
Oh boy, Warframe.
And they're working on like the successor.
And 4,000 fucking gacha games and mobile games you've never heard of and will never want to hear of, but you won't be able to get away from for the next 8 months.
Yeah, we were talking before we went live. Matt and I were talking about how all the Player's Choice nominees are all those gacha free-to-play games.
It's one real game. It's Black Myth Wukong, Shadows of the Erd Tree, DLC for a 2-year-old game, and 3 gacha shit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is that where we are? Wow.
I mean, if you watch Pactor Factor, he's been saying it for a while. You guys always drag on him, but he's right a lot of the freaking time, man.
They make a lot of money, but that doesn't mean they're any good.
Yep. I just saw that Sean Layden is basically repeating everything Pactor has been saying for the last 3 years verbatim. Literally, he did an interview with Eurogamer that's getting all these headlines and he's repeating verbatim what Pachter has been saying about free-to-play games, about consoles going away. Literally, it's like he watched Pachter Factor and went and did the interview and just repeated everything he could remember from Pachter Factor. Yeah. And y'all bang on Pachter. He's right all the time, people.
He's not right about consoles going away, and he never will be.
Well, he doesn't. You probably don't watch the show. No. He's not saying they're like going away now. He's saying that they're going to diminish each generation until they slowly go away. And he says
they haven't.
And he says
he's been saying that for 3 generations.
Well, I mean, PS5's tracking below PS4.
How's the Switch doing?
I mean, it's going to be the best-selling console of all time, but it's also kind of an anomaly because it's a hybrid.
Okay, well, now it's an anomaly when he's wrong. Interesting.
No, but he says no. But again, you're not listening. You're not watching the show. He says that Nintendo is going to be the one that lasts forever and probably will never do away with consoles like ever. Like he's saying, PlayStation and Xbox are inching this way. Xbox will be first. PlayStation will follow, and then Nintendo in a distant third.
PlayStation will not follow. PlayStation will either die or continue to put out consoles.
Really? You think it would die before it?
Yes.
Shifted strategies?
100%, because
that
would require them to start cooperating with the Sony TV department, and that's just not going to happen.
Well, today, Sony stock hit an all-time high today, and it's all because of PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think PlayStation would just give up, because then Sony would just go away.
My implication there is that, no, PlayStation as a physical piece of hardware is never going away.
Ever. Okay. Interesting. Okay, We'll see.
That is their brand. That is what they do. That is what they're locked into, and they will never pivot from that. It has taken them 7 fucking movies to realize the Sony villain-verse movies don't work. Like, they are not going to give up on the PlayStation hardware.
Not particularly nimble, is what you're getting at.
No, they are not.
Yeah.
None of them. I mean, PlayStation's a little more nimble than Sony Pictures, but they don't.
Not by much.
They don't think outside that box. They never do.
Cinetech says John McEnroe was the only one who was always right. That's funny.
It's just not a thing. And like, Layden can yap all he wants about that shit, but like, that's a reality that is being created by the fucking C-suites catering to the infinite growth myth shareholder dipshits.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't think that's going away.
No, of course not. But like I'm saying is like, it has nothing to do with the games. It has to do with investors not knowing anything about games. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, like, people like EA, and you're seeing this with like Veilguard, where Veilguard is apparently now a disappointment or whatever, even though it sold faster than any other BioWare game at launch or whatever. But it's a single-player game, and it doesn't have DLC, and it doesn't have microtransactions. It's not, when you look at the balance sheet at the meeting, the revenue numbers are not on the level of Football Club or Madden, and that's simple. That's all it is. Like that's really the only issue there. I think the Jedi games continue because the CEO of EA knows he might be up for the Disney CEO position, and he wants to play nice with Disney.
Like, he could have been playing that game all along.
Right?
I mean,
he's buddies with Iger. That's always been in the cards. I think we didn't see that coming until recently, but like especially with Chapek.
It was made public recently.
But but it's like EA and to a large degree Ubisoft and a lot of the big publishers, especially outside of Japan, just don't have any interest in that small team idea. They don't have any interest in building up from the ground up this small but when you think about it, everything has to be that. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't make a Concord. You can't, you build from the small team and you make it into $1 billion IP. I cannot think of a single IP in video games that didn't start as a small team. Like, without that small team, without the little group of small budget
people,
group of people that make this one thing that doesn't really make any sense at the time, but becomes a big deal, snowballs into $1 billion business. Like, that's without funding that kind of idea, those small time things that don't return huge revenue for shareholders, you don't get huge revenue for share. Like, without that small team, you don't get Minecraft. You don't get PUBG. No, you don't get Fortnite. Yeah. You don't get You don't get Pac-Man. You don't get Doom. You don't get anything.
They're like incubators,
you don't get The Sims.
basically.
You don't get, that's how you make this shit.
Yeah, you need to incubate it. Yeah, and small teams.
And that's what's bringing this all down. And people can yap about the fucking free to play shit, but you know what? Capcom just puts out like reliable single player and compact multiplayer games and co-op games that do not require this kind of fucking constant feeding of the beast. And they haven't laid anybody off for fucking years.
Well, they tried a couple, and they failed miserably. And Capcom was nimble and was like, okay, we learned our lesson.
Okay,
we're going to pivot.
Yeah, we have our niche. We're just going to do that.
Yeah.
And, in the end, all these companies just start laying people off and throwing people out the door and shifting people around to other doomed projects. And in the end, you're like, well,
they're all doomed.
They're all, but look who's fucking standing. Capcom.
Yeah.
Like Dragon's Dogma 2. Who the fuck would have thought that did well?
Yeah.
But it did.
Yeah.
And it did well by their metric and their standards, and without that, you have nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, show me the game. EA puts 2 fucking games out a year now.
Yeah. A lot of publishers are that way. Pat just brought it to my attention that there are 2 U.S. publishers left.
Yeah.
There's Electronic Arts and Take-Two. That's it. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then
that is insane. There used to be 11. There are 2.
Well, Microsoft, if you.
Yeah, I mean, if you count like a platform.
Not platform holders,
right?
But like, and then like look at what's happening over there. Like they found there's AI art in Call of Duty now.
I know.
The $1 billion company that's owned by a $1 trillion company can't pay artists now. Apparently, we got a zombie with 6 fucking fingers.
Yeah, I just
unbelievable.
And they just laid off a bunch of people at IGN today too. More people at IGN. More people at GamesIndustry.biz. It's not good. So anyway, that's the lowdown on the Game Awards. It is Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're not into it, you don't want to watch the show, just go to SIFTD.net. We'll have everything
I'm
there.
always amused by the Twitch Automod held Nox Eternitas his comment for bullying because he said the phrase "his chicken."
But his chicken little man.
His chicken?
I'm going to allow it. That's hilarious.
What are you bullying the dinner choice?
They're definitely erring on the side of caution.
I'm trying to think of the fucking the context where that would be, or his chicken would be bullying.
Emperor Dread, thank you for Twitch Prime, brother. Thank you for Twitch Prime. I appreciate it. Then Vincent says, "Will we see RE9's dumb MP attempt at the Game Awards?" I mean, I thought it was an open world is the big twist for.
It is, but it sounds like they're trying to. The open world in part is like they're trying to do some kind of war zone.
Like an open world with interesting. Huh. I guess maybe. I mean, we're due for RE9 for sure. We're kind of overdue to see RE9. So yeah, that's a distinct possibility. And Capcom does work with Jeff, so that's an avenue that's certainly open there. Cinetai says just wait until Automod has AI capabilities. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. That's the deets on the Game Awards. And next Monday when we come back, we'll be going through very quickly the awards, but mostly we'll be talking about all the reveals and stuff like that before we jump into our own Game of the Year awards. Next up, Matt, somebody asked me a question for Ask Shane Anything a few weeks ago, and they asked me if Fortnite was going to be Epic's last ever video game. And I said that I thought it was going to be because Epic had kind of fallen into this pattern of releasing new games, but releasing them inside Fortnite. And that has continued. They just announced 2 more Fortnite variants that are basically just plucked inside Fortnite. There's Fortnite Ballistic, which is a first-person mode for Fortnite. And then there's a new product called Lego Fortnite Brick Life, which is like a social app inside Fortnite where people have like Lego avatars and they can run around and talk to each other. It's kind of like, I don't know,
well, after this
PlayStation Home. But
after the Exclusivity, that other Lego thing they put in, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Do you think as a company it's smart to do what Epic is doing instead of releasing these things as separate products that people can latch onto and just putting it into this app that they have?
Well, I'll tell you this much. If the thing that you think Pachter is right about with the console thing is going to happen, this is how it happens.
Yeah.
New platforms that never were hardware rise.
Like software platforms, you mean? Yeah.
Like this is honestly what Assassin's Creed should have been 10 years ago.
I think they're trying to do it with like Infinity now and have that app.
I just don't know how
will it work? Who knows?
It feels like a little too late to me, but who knows?
Yeah.
But this is like, that's what, if that future comes to pass, this is where it starts. This is how you start it. And I'm not saying Epic's going to be the one that actually makes that breakout and become the new default, but someone's got to lay the groundwork, and this seems to be the groundwork.
As someone who works in a big database all the time, it seems to me that it would be smarter to create specific products for these instead of just, because basically what happens is they put out a 30-second trailer. It goes to our Fortnite game page where there are literally like 800 trailers at this point for Fortnite on our Fortnite page.
What actually happens is the biggest game in the world runs shit for this in your eyes when you log into that game and then you go play it.
That's the other angle of it.
They don't need that.
Right.
Because
that's the thing. You haven't built an audience.
It's put on trailers online as a formality for them.
Because if you think about it, it's like even if you get 5% of the Fortnite audience to go and play these little spin-off things, that's a huge audience. That's like the biggest audience maybe for any game that comes out that month, so to speak. So it's one of those things where when you first look at it, you're like, well, that seems dumb because that's not the way things have been done all this time. And like, it seems like it'd be very easy to create a different SKU for these, and they get their own profiles across all the internet and entertainment. But I think you're right. I think that at this point, Fortnite has such a huge built-in audience that if you just put something up on the splash screen for Fortnite for 3 days, you're going to reach way more people than a trailer for a separate game.
I have friends with kids who change their weekly schedules for the family schedules so that everybody can play Fortnite and see events they're doing together.
Yeah.
Like people like schedule their lives around this game to some degree.
Because the other thing too is that we've talked about it before. They're doing concerts in Fortnite. They just had one like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know I'd never even heard of the artist, and it did like 10 million views. And then Snoop Dogg just did one like last week, and it was like the biggest one ever. With like 14 million people watching a fake concert that lasts like 11 minutes.
I mean, it is kind of encouraging when at least the one that's the biggest ever is someone I've heard of.
Right. I felt better knowing it was Snoop. I was like, okay, the kids figured it out. Like, even the kids know that Snoop is the one you want to show up for. But so they've been doing the concerts in there, which is this whole other line of business for Epic. I mean, if they really start like pushing that and do a concert every week, I mean, I don't know specifically how much money they're getting from the artists to do these, or if it's a symbiotic thing where the artist gets paid. I don't know how the finances work out for that. How would you think it would work?
I don't know. I imagine some kind of flat rate.
Yeah, that they pay the artist, right? Yeah. And then they just make whatever money they can. I don't think they make any money specifically off these things. They just want people in the environment doing whatever. I don't think they care what they're doing. They don't care if you're just hanging out as a Lego. They don't care if you're playing in first-person mode. They don't care if you're going back and playing the new OG mode, which just launched last week, and it's a standalone mode that will be there forever now. It feels like their audience is so big, they don't really have to worry about cannibalizing any of the separate apps inside their master app anymore. It's really, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this in gaming.
No.
You're right. It has become like its own platform.
Like everyone babbled on and on about the metaverse, but this is the metaverse.
It is.
This is what that is.
But if you listened, Epic said all along.
Zuckerberg could have saved a lot of money if he realized he'd already been beaten.
That's another thing that Pachter had right. When we used to talk about the metaverse all the time, he was the one that said Epic was the one that was going to get it right and run with it. And he was right about that too. It's interesting though. As a parent, I do wonder how you feel about your kid being sucked into this vortex of Fortnite.
A lot of the parents are into it too.
They are. Like I have a couple nieces and nephews.
I'm curious if that's a real sky.
What do you mean?
If the stars are accurate.
Oh, I doubt it.
You can do that pretty easily.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I doubt it though. Maybe
we might get a call from Neil deGrasse Tyson if it's not.
I mean, we know people who work on all this stuff.
Yeah, I know a couple of people over there who would do that if it was possible.
Yeah, go the extra mile to include the extra detail there. But Fortnite is...
You can even make it the correct sky for wherever you're logging in from.
No, you're right. Yeah. Geo-tagged. Yeah, I totally. Bottom line is that Fortnite is bigger than anything we've probably ever seen in the games industry. And it doesn't appear to be shrinking. It's only getting bigger and bigger. And that's how, he can push... At Epic, he can push his weight around to get things done that other publishers simply can't do. Like trying to get like the 30% rate cut down to something smaller. Like nobody but Epic could really push that. So I don't know. If I were a parent, I don't know how I would feel about my kid just being engaged with this one thing so much. But you're right. Like a lot of parents play along with their kids. In fact, I have a niece who has a gaming setup in her bedroom and a LAN in their house, and they play Fortnite with their kids.
But also, it's not really one thing, is it? It's like a TV channel. It's like being worried if your kid was really into Nickelodeon.
I mean, our parents, at least my parents, were worried that I was watching too much MTV in the 80s.
Yeah, and they were wrong, weren't they?
I don't know.
They just didn't understand what they...
It depends on your perspective,
none of the
I guess.
trouble we ever got into had anything to do with MTV.
Yeah.
But they were wrong. It's just because they didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
The same thing here. I mean, I don't play Fortnite. I haven't logged into Fortnite in years. I don't know what any of this is. But I also recognize that this is just a different form of youth culture. That's the thing about the youth culture shit is like everyone's all worried about some of this shit. And it's like none of our stuff was any weirder or less violent or less crazy or less dangerous than any of what these kids are doing. you just couldn't Google what we were doing.
Well, Matt,
you couldn't log into what we were doing and see it in real time. That's the difference here. Is all this shit that used to be like things we just said in playgrounds and parking lots and backwoods and shit. That's all just like all out here online, and you can just see it happening on all these things. That's the difference. Is that parents can log in and find out your fucking slang.
You're right.
Like that's the mortifying part.
Well,
is that your mom knows what Riz is.
Yeah,
like my mom still doesn't know what hella means.
Right.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But anyway, Fortnite is taking over our tween verse. I mean, it really has just become this thing that all the tweens are into. Akuma MVC2.
Better that than Andrew Tate.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like,
there are far worse things online to be into than this.
Like, we were playing metal records backwards to hear if the devil was talking. And these kids are playing Fortnite.
And they weren't.
They
Believe
weren't.
me. Like, these people had too much fucking free time on our hands, just like the people that are upset about Fortnite.
Yeah. Akuma MVC2 says, my 11-year-old was into Fortnite hardcore for a year and eventually wised up and moved on. I just let it run its course. Sometimes kids do that. Sometimes kids get locked in, though, man. Like, see Taylor Swift.
Sometimes, but that has nothing to do with Fortnite.
Yeah.
And also, like, that's not... The Taylor Swift thing isn't new either. Like, that's just musical artists.
Just another pop star, yeah.
I mean, I've never understood that. I've never been so into any kind of musician that I just, like, defined myself by them. I don't get that. Never have. But it wasn't new.
Yeah.
Like, a whole fucking generation spent 4 years wearing plaid because of Nirvana. Like, I don't, like...
And pegging our pants. That was a thing for a while.
Oh, yeah, that was a big thing.
It's one of those things I look back on and I'm like, that was dumb.
Gotta let everyone see what socks you're wearing for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't remember what started that. Was that a skateboarding origin or like a...
What?
Why did people start pegging their pants in the
It wasn't skating,
What started that?
Skating was wearing big pants.
Was that a b-boy thing?
No, it was like a preppy thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, the pants pegging.
Why?
I don't know. People just like the look of the pants being tight at the shoes.
I didn't.
I didn't either. I hated it. But everybody else did it, so I did it.
Yeah, he had to do it. I remember my friend Chad showing me how to do it. He's like, that's cool. And I was like, I don't get it. He's like, yeah, but you just got to do it because that's what everybody's doing. And then like some point later in that day, because Chad was one of the cool people, and like at some point later that day, people were like, oh no, who's wearing the weather pants? He's like, no, Matt's cool now. He's pegging his pants. Check it out. And I was like, I appreciate the wingmanning, but I still don't understand what any of this is.
Silkshake reminds us that Rock Band is also in Fortnite at this point.
Because a lot of harmonics got absorbed by Epic, so yeah.
Mike's Q says, my 4-year-old daughter Lily, of her own volition, brought a boombox downstairs, tuned it to Spanish Christmas music, made herself hot chocolate, and began drawing pictures. I think she may understand Christmas better than any of us. I do not give her a tablet to play with. I bet she asked for it, though, all the time.
Feliz Navidad.
Gizmo Gladstone says, my kid got locked in on Fortnite, but I make sure to be around while he's doing it. That's a good call, too. I mean, that's the other thing is, like, if you actually kind of enjoy Fortnite, this can be like a bonding thing with your kids. Like, honestly, it really can. Where your kid's like, hey, maybe my dad isn't so bad. Like, particularly if you can play and you're half decent at it.
It's just. I just don't think it's that deep. It's just something people are into. Everyone's into things, and you get into. There are grown men who cry because men they've never met and will never meet did something with a ball they were unhappy about. Like people get into shit.
My nieces and nephews all play it. I don't see any negative effects on them from playing it, other than the begging me for V-Bucks all the time.
Right, but it's like, I mean, if you've got kids like stealing your wallet,
for V-Bucks,
for V-Bucks, then that's a problem. But that's a problem beyond Fortnite.
Right. That's a morality problem and probably a parenting problem as well. So anyway, Fortnite just continues on. It's beyond juggernaut status at this point. To Matt's point earlier, it has become a platform, almost equivalent to the Vita at this point. I think it almost has as many games as Vita when you think about it. So anyway, Fortnite continues to just trudge on, and it is kind of cool. I think that some parents can get into it, and I do think having some of the musical acts do concerts, think that helps bridge the gap between the kids and the parents a little bit. So I mean, Epic is just doing it all right, really, is what it's coming down to.
It was what back in the day we would call appointment television.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So okay, let's move on to our next topic.
How many other things in this world right now can get that many people to do the same thing at once?
Not many. Not the kids.
Like
Fortnite,
the Super Bowl,
Fortnite, the Super
World
Bowl,
Cup,
Taylor Swift,
and Fortnite. Like that is our top four.
It really is. By the way, I just drove by Taylor Swift's house. We took my mom on one of those bus tours yesterday, and we went by Taylor Swift's house, and it's not very nice. her house in L.A.
Well, it's one of what, like 12?
4. She has four or 5 houses. But I was shocked. I'm like, man, in Beverly Hills, I figured her house would be, and it's not crappy or anything. But it's like you see it and you're like, really? Like she has huge white, like big doors that on her entrances, but like they're kind of like dirty and like misshapen. Like we went to Al Pacino's house. Have you seen Al Pacino's house in Beverly? It literally is a dump. It's a dump. He has like this gated door that looks like it's falling off the hinges.
A lot of people like a lot of them just don't stay. They don't care. They don't stay here very often.
Yeah, well, he does actually. So the tour guide is like,
I figure he lives in New York.
The tour guide said that is the person they see more than any. He said he has personally seen him 12 times outside his house, just screwing off. He said one time they pulled up and he just walked out of his gate and was like, "Hey," and walked up and took pictures with everybody on the tour bus. Anyway. It's funny.
I mean, I'll be honest. If I was a world-famous superstar actor like that, and people, I'd do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and they said they went by the Chateau Marmont one time.
Yeah, out there, get a little hit of ego boost.
Yeah,
like, fuck it.
He said Shaq was standing there, and Shaq just walked up to the bus and took pictures with everybody. Anyway, it's kind of funny that celebrities, a lot of them aren't really obsessed with money, believe it or not. Some of them are just like, this is good enough for me, and that's all I need.
Keanu Reeves lived in a 2-bedroom apartment for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Until he was like, oh, I guess I should get a house.
Yeah. We saw Rihanna's house too yesterday, and that wasn't as big and crazy as I thought it would be.
No,
she had an armed guard standing outside her driveway.
Part of it is the property taxes in LA are so crazy,
particularly in Beverly Hills.
That you just can't. Like you don't want a huge house, like especially if you're not living in it full time. A lot of these people split their time between various places.
And my wife's boss lives in Brentwood. He pays $50,000 a year just in property tax.
Wow.
Brentwood, bougie. Okay, let's move on to our next headline. We always get off on non sequiturs here on GameFace. That one was my fault. Next up, so GTA 6 we talked about a little bit earlier. Some people are thinking maybe we'll see something at the Game Awards. I tend to agree with you. I think they're going to do it when they want to do it, and I think it's almost like a power play in some ways. Although they did show up to get the award for Red Dead 2, and they don't always show up, Rockstar. And they did show up for that. So it shows that you have a little bit of love for Jeff, but I agree with you. I think
they just had someone in LA.
Yeah. Probably. Well, they had a big crew that showed up. Like they had like 8 people or whatever.
Right, but I think they were in LA.
Maybe.
Again, don't underestimate a lot of people show up for the Game Awards now because a lot of people show up for the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Like especially now that E3 isn't a thing, this is the only chance a lot of these people have to see each other.
Yeah.
So I think in part the Game Awards for like the industry people are sort of an excuse to come to LA and all hang out for a few days because we don't get that anymore.
We're spoiled for sure. Seeing my mom love LA this week reminded me how spoiled I am. Just watching her go around and see everything and come home at the end of the day and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe all the things I saw and did today. It gave me a new perspective on living here for sure. But anyway, so the latest thing is that like the entire industry right now is waiting for Rockstar to announce the release date for Grand Theft Auto 6. They don't want to announce their release dates until they know when this game is coming out.
I shouldn't admit that because now Rockstar is just going to play chicken with them.
It's going to twist the knife. Yeah, it's like
they're not going to announce this shit till like August.
Right, like that is the wrong publisher to get that information out to the public about.
I mean, they know.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
yeah, they have to have a pretty good idea.
Like 800-pound gorilla doesn't even cover it.
Yeah. So I think I think last week we were talking about like 2025, like we don't really know what's coming.
Although I bet Nintendo doesn't care because they're completely different.
Oh yeah,
it's only on PlayStation 5, so it's like there's some stuff that probably doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
you'll be swallowed in the noise.
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be that eventually this game does come to Switch 2 or whatever it ends up being called, though. That'd be my guess. I mean, that's going to be a huge market that I don't think Rockstar will leave.
I mean, over time, this game is going to be milked for 10 years. And on everything.
It may be 5 years from now, but I think eventually it'll come to Switch 2.
It might be Switch 3.
Yeah. Could you think of any other property that does this where people are like dodging it? Call of Duty, maybe? I don't even know if Call of Duty has that much cachet.
No, people aren't that scared of Call of Duty. It's more of a built-in audience than a worldwide phenomenon. Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say you don't want to get anywhere near Zelda or Mario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are good calls too.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Even Pokemon doesn't really like tip the scales.
I would release my game around Pokemon. Yeah, definitely.
It's just different.
I wouldn't think twice about it.
But like in terms of just universal, like don't want to touch it. I would say Mario and Zelda are the only two equivalent, and they're not on the level of GTA 6.
Because what's going to happen when this game comes out is the whole world is going to lock down for 2 weeks. Literally, like the whole world is going to lock down and play GTA 6 for however long it takes to finish it. And they're not going to be buying anything else. They're not going to be going out. They're not going to be leaving their houses. Like, honestly, a lot of other entertainment entities and properties would be smart to avoid the launch of GTA 6. Like, I would not release a movie within a week or two of GTA 6, would you?
That depends on the movie.
Yeah?
Like, I wouldn't release, like, a Marvel movie. But you could put out, like, a more Oscar-oriented movie or a horror movie. It's probably GTA-proof.
I don't know, man.
Kids stuff, like a
kid stuff,
like a Disney animated film.
Yeah, that would work fine.
Like, you're not gonna be able to explain to your 6-year-old that, like, you can't go see, Moana 3 because whatever. I will say this, like, as related to that, like, it's you don't be surprised to see an animation revolution in the next couple of years because of what happened this year.
Really?
We had Inside Out 2, which was the number one, the biggest animated film of all time at the box office, and then Moana 2, which is a cut down season of a streaming show that they decided not to. That was the biggest animated opening domestic. That made $385 million domestically.
I know.
Like, if you don't need any more proof that theaters are not dead, people are just picky about what they go see. Like they're not going to go see your trash, Craven. Like, I'm sorry. Right. Like that's just how it is. Like, make good shit and people go to see it. And Moana 2 is not even that good, but like it's what people wanted to see.
I was at Hollywood Boulevard yesterday, and that Disney film Mufasa, is that what it is?
Yeah.
They shut down the entire Hollywood Boulevard block.
Oh, they do that all the time.
Really? They had the red carpet down the middle of the street. That was a whole block long.
No, that's the standard premiere.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's all.
But we got there, and my mom loved it because she got to see
it's cool.
how the sausage is made.
Oh, right. But what I'm saying is, like, that has nothing to do with how important Mufasa is.
But like, so that whole
the worst movies you've ever seen do that.
Okay, I didn't know that, actually. It's not like I go to Hollywood Boulevard all the time.
See, that's where I see most stuff at the Chinese theater.
Oh, you do?
So, like, I'm always trying to figure out, like, okay, is the fucking thing closed? Or I gotta come around the
it
other
makes
side?
it a huge pain in the
terrible.
ass.
It's terrible, but it happens all the time.
I had to do it, though. I had one day left with my mom, and I'm like, we need to do it.
Yeah,
so
you want to show
I just stuck it out,
sure.
but she loved it. And it's like that shopping mall tucked back in there on that block?
Yeah, Hollywood and Highland.
Yeah, that whole thing is done for Mufasa.
Yeah.
Like, they have crazy installations. Mm-hmm. Like, they've been working on it for like 4 days. It's crazy to me still how much money goes into film.
The Disney stuff gets much more elaborate than some of the other. You'll get Hollywood Boulevard shut down and do a red carpet for like whatever, like Morbius or whatever. Mm-hmm. Sure. Like, but because Disney owns El Capitan Theater right there, like they will have there'll be a stage show and there'll be a parade.
It's crazy.
And it's Disney.
I was blown away.
They can just truck things in from Disneyland if they need to.
Yeah.
Also, the first live action Lion King made $1 billion.
I didn't realize that. Actually.
Like that's one of their biggest hits of all time.
I didn't know that.
So they're throwing everything behind Mufasa because they want it to be that
big time.
And it probably will be pretty big because it is a Christmas time movie. It is opening against Sonic 3. I don't think Sonic really has a chance.
If it was anymore. Sonic 1, maybe, but by the third one.
The third one, I mean,
law of diminishing returns.
Mufasa is also a prequel that nobody asked for, so we'll see. But my guess is that Mufasa is going to be. I mean, it's Disney, it's Lion King, it's animals.
All the kids I saw down there were all over it, man.
And if anything we've seen, if Moana 2 can make that kind of money, Mufasa can make that kind of money too.
You think GTA 6 is still going to come out next year?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. I
think it's late next year.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll maybe even barely get it in before the end of the year, but I think it will come out next year.
Yeah, I mean, like early November would not shock me.
Yep.
But like they can put it out whenever they want.
Yeah.
Really.
And how about this? Do you think Call of Duty would shift its release date based upon GTA 6?
Yes.
I think it would. I really think it would.
Yes. There's a lot of audience crossover there.
Yeah. It could get interesting.
And there's a part of me that wonders if Rockstar would just be like October 26th.
Right. The exact
where are you going to go?
The exact date
just to be able to say to themselves, we made Call of Duty blink.
Yeah. I mean, no other game could do that. No other game.
And the other thing is, I bet Microsoft is more likely to do that than Activision on its own would have been. Activision might have, like, Kotick might have had the ego to be like, no, we're going for it. But Microsoft's be like, nope, yes, sir.
No,
like,
we've learned lessons before.
Please put that game on our system as soon as you can at your earliest convenience. Thank you.
And we will do nothing to ruffle your feathers in the meantime. But anyway, if you haven't figured it out yet, GTA 6 may be the biggest entertainment thing ever.
I mean, GTA 5 already is.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about. I can't wait. I'm very, very excited.
Well, there's part of me that wonders, like, what if it bombs?
Wait, do I get first pick in the draft next year?
I think so.
I think I do.
I think so, because I got Star Wars Outlaws first, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Do I pick GTA?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think it's the new Zelda.
I'll just have
thing.
to cover it with
whatever. Man, I don't know if I can come up with 24 games that we know are coming out.
Because again, they're all like
nothing.
They're not announcing release dates because they're afraid. So we'll see.
They're afraid, or nothing's ready, or like.
Yeah.
We'll see what we know after Thursday, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like,
it should help at least a little bit.
Somewhat, but it's like if you want to draft a bunch of gacha crap,
that
may or may not even get reviewed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting for me. We review so many games that are free now. Mm-hmm. It's like we're not helping people spend money anymore. We're helping people decide whether it's worth downloading something. Yeah, it's really bizarre.
I mean, I don't even see the point of reviewing free games. We used to not do that on XPlay a lot. People write in every week there'd be people asking for a RuneScape review, and we're like, just go play it.
Well, I think some people just want to see if their opinion aligns with yours,
right. And we weren't going to give them that satisfaction because it's not like we aren't Rockstar, but we understand.
Yep. Okay, next up in headlines, more Ubisoft drama. I don't think it's going to end for the foreseeable future. Finally, Ubisoft admitted, although after just a week after saying it was not going to cancel the game, it has now admitted that XDefiant is going under. It is going to stay up until June 3rd of 2025, and then it's free to play, quote-unquote, Call of Duty killer, another one we can add to that pile, will be sent out to pasture and killed. I mean, here's the crazy thing. XDefiant is really freaking good. I don't understand why this game, because look, there's Delta Force, which is this other free-to-play militaristic shooter that's been doing gangbusters. But for whatever reason, this one from Ubisoft, nobody seems to care. It had a decent launch, but it's just been a slow dwindle ever since launch. Like a lot of these games,
I think it's a combination of just the fact that it looks ridiculous and no one knows what the fucking title is.
Yeah.
Like, XDefiant doesn't mean anything.
Delta Force does.
Yeah.
Sadly, I mean,
Delta Force tells me everything I need to know about that game.
You're right. It really does. And XDefiant does not. How would you ever get, like, all-star Ubisoft competitive shooter from XDefiant?
I don't know.
Nobody would. Nobody did. So it is dying.
XDefiant sounds like something that would be advertising, like, all natural deodorant to me on Facebook.
So XDefiant is dying. Janderman, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. Janderman 1978. J. Reed Vic says on the prior topic, other than maybe Pokemon and Mario, is Fortnite the biggest game ever targeted specifically at kids and tweens? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I think if you ask Epic, they would say it's not targeted at kids and tweens. It's targeted at every living human.
Yeah.
It just happens to hit that audience real hard.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
It's okay. Just looking through chat real quick. Slippy47, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. We appreciate you. Someone says RE9 is a better first pick. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if they're really going out on a limb and trying something new with Resident Evil, people could totally rebel against it and be like, this isn't what I want. I don't know. I think GTA is a safer pick, but it's safer pick as far as the score, not a safer pick as far as it coming out, though. So maybe from that angle, RE9 might be the better pick, but I mean, we haven't seen it yet. You counting on it coming out next year? We'll see. If we see something at the Game Awards and they're like coming out in 2025, then yeah, maybe that's something to consider. But right now, it's hard to pass up GTA 6 for our fantasy league. So anyway, XDefiant is shutting down, and we're starting to hear rumors that Tencent has been sniffing around Ubisoft, looking to buy the publisher. However, there have been conflicts between Tencent and the existing management at Ubisoft because the Guillemot family wants to retain control. And Tencent says, no, you've had control over Ubisoft for...
Yeah, isn't that kind of the point
here? Yeah, like you aren't getting it done. Like, yeah, seriously. Like, that's the problem, is that you guys are in control and you don't know it doesn't appear that you know what you're doing anymore, which is bizarre. How does Ubisoft know what to do for so many years and then just lose the ability to figure out how to effectively position its products in the market? Like, I don't know, man. This whole Ubisoft.
They started chasing the fucking infinite growth trends instead of continuing to do what they were good at. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
That's it. And like they've done that before, and it didn't really work. You know, it was like I think it was back when everything had to have a multiplayer mode in it, whether it made any sense or not. They did that with everything they did. You know, and it actually worked out pretty okay with Assassin's Creed for a while.
Yeah.
But then it just became the same thing over and over again. But they were able to weather that because the games were still themselves. And in this case, they thrown all these resources and time behind this stupid thing. They threw all these resources and time behind the rollerblading game. They threw all the resources and time behind Breakpoint. Nobody liked it. And I don't think they really understand why it's not working for them and it's working for other companies, but they don't understand their own DNA anymore.
It really feels that way. And so maybe they do need an outside party like Tencent to kind of show them the way.
And I've had people that I know who work over there and have been saying to me for years, I mean, over 10 years, that we have no idea what we're doing next because Ubi just can't decide what they want to do next. And it's like, when everything takes 4 to 5 years to make, you cannot be sitting around not knowing what you're going to do next as you're shipping the last thing.
You're right.
You have to have that next thing in pre-production a year ahead of time. Because the people that work on that kind of part of the game don't have anything to do while you're finishing that other game.
Right.
So, how are you not getting the assembly line going? You have to make a decision.
My fear of Tencent taking over is, what happens to something like Assassin's Creed Shadows? It's coming out pretty soon, but if that sale goes through, in January or whatever, it could get a little dicey. Tencent could maybe...
It still comes out.
Yeah.
You can't make that decision because that sale's going to continue going through. You have to keep going on your business plan.
Yeah.
That's actually illegal to do otherwise, both because you are going back on what you said revenue was going to be to the shareholders, and you are kind of committing fraud against the people buying you. Mm-hmm. Because if they're committing to buying you, part of the reason they're buying you would be assumed to be the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out in February and is going to make that revenue.
Right.
You can't canceling it makes no sense. Delaying it makes, unless it's not ready to come out, obviously.
Yeah.
But you'd know that internally.
That's what
already.
I'm saying. What if it's not ready and Tencent's oh no, that's coming out now.
I mean, what's the difference?
Because they've been doing it already that way, Ubisoft. Yeah.
So we get another Star Wars Outlaws. Okay.
Well, I mean, they tried to delay this to avoid it, and now maybe Tencent could come in and be no, that's coming out in February. You need to make it out.
Well, yeah, but
in
it's
the
supposed
quarter.
to come out in February.
Right. But I'm saying, maybe they get to the point they're we're still not there in February, and they're we need a couple months or two, and Tencent's no. That's coming out.
I mean,
now.
if they, with or without Tencent, that would be an absolute catastrophe.
To delay it again?
Yeah. Huge disaster. They have to get it out in February.
Fiscally, yeah.
Fiscally, I mean, you can't push it past the end of March.
Right. Yeah.
Fiscally and just PR-wise.
Yeah. Because then
you've already got fucking morons going around saying that they delayed it to take the black guy out of it.
Right.
You have to get this thing out and get past the fucking hump.
I actually never saw that. I'm glad I don't run in some of the circles that you run in, Matt.
I don't run in the circles. I read the shit that people are saying on the social media platform.
Yeah, I just don't. I just stay away from it. So anyway, more turmoil at Ubisoft. Do you think Tencent buying it would be good for Ubisoft ultimately? They're a huge conglomerate. They have deep pockets.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what's good or bad for that anymore?
I mean, Tencent could afford to delay Ubi's games and make sure they're right before they come out. That's one thing. Whereas Ubisoft...
They could also afford to fast track some shit and get some stuff done.
Yeah.
They could also shut everything down and kill it.
That's true.
But
then why would you buy it,
To get the IP?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would want Tencent's teams working on this IP either, but honestly, it's not like Ubisoft is knocking it out of the park with its own IP anyway.
They steal the Assassin's Creed IP from it, shut it all down, hand it off to some of their gotcha game producers, and come up with something that covers the whole Assassin's Creed spectrum, and put that out on mobile phones, and there you go.
I mean, you're kind of right.
Not to give them any ideas, but
I hate to admit it, but you're right. Yep. So anyway, the Ubisoft saga continues, and as we get new information about it, we'll continue to update you guys about it. The Big Smoke 82 says, I think the problem with Ubisoft is that all their games have all melded into the same open world collectathons with either guns or swords. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a template that they stick to.
Sort of, except it's the games they have that have really failed have been the Me Too gas games.
It's true.
Not their
templated games. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, actually.
I'm not wearing a Rage Against the Machine shirt. I'm wearing a X-Wing that says "This machine kills fascists."
I'll switch to if
so
you want.
It is a Woody Guthrie as an X-Wing pilot shirt.
That's pretty awesome. I love that shirt. So anyway, that's the latest on Ubisoft. Next up in headlines, we talked about GTA 6 a minute ago, but in the course of the PlayStation 30th anniversary celebration, a lot of people who worked in the early days of PlayStation have been doing interviews, and really some crazy anecdotes have come out of a lot of these interviews. Like we talked last week, I think, about how Sony corporate didn't want anything to do with PlayStation, and Sony didn't want its name on the PlayStation because it's like it's going to flop, and we don't want it to like sour our reputation. Well, we found out this week, though, that back in the PlayStation 1 going to PlayStation 2 era, that PlayStation became very concerned about Xbox and Microsoft entering the market because, as we just mentioned about Tencent, Microsoft, even back then, had way deeper pockets than Sony and PlayStation. So Sony was like, man, if they really put their brunt force of their revenue and their money behind this, it could become a problem. And so PlayStation, in order to solve that problem, signed the exclusivity deal for Grand Theft Auto. So the 3 Grand Theft Auto games, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, were all signed as exclusives in response to Microsoft and Xbox entering the market. And that may have been one of the smartest moves a platform holder has ever made. And granted, it was born out of fear, but does that matter? If the end result, like...
The end result. And also, like, no one saw this coming for whatever reason. I remember somebody, I can't remember, it was Game Informer or somebody did an article on GTA 3 like 3 or 4 months before it came out, and I read it and I was like, holy, like this is
this real?
Because I played the other two, I played the top down ones,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh my god, is it? And you weren't at extended play yet, but I went around trying to when that was coming out, I tried to convince Annalisa and everybody, I'm like, we need to, this is gonna be huge, this is gonna be you've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's so violent, and I don't know if it's going to be really
on TV
and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we didn't even get a review copy of it.
Yeah.
I had to go to I had to go for the Tanforan shopping mall in Colma, south of the city, and get one from the EB there.
Buy it.
And
Retail.
buy it. And I brought it back to the game lab and sat down, and only Miguel, we came in and played it. Like, we sat down as I started to play it, and he started to bring people in, and they're like, oh my god, what is it? I'm like, it's the thing I've been telling you about for a month. And like, we didn't review that game until the PC version came out, specifically because we completely missed the boat.
I really wonder if these 3 GTA games are what put PlayStation in first place to stay.
I think by that point, yeah. I mean, what put them in first place was DVD player, and before that, I think it was Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
like Final Fantasy VII cannot be.
It put it on the map for sure.
In terms of that,
yeah.
In terms of being a console you never wanted to be without, yeah, I think GTA 3 and that trilogy sort of cemented the idea that that's what you played video games on, because that was what so many people played.
Yep.
And then it didn't, because the 360 became the online thing of choice after that. I played GTA 5 and 4 on the 360.
I did too.
So I don't know. Like, it certainly cemented PS2 as the king of that generation without any question.
Yeah.
I think there's tons of people that still associate GTA with
PlayStation. Yeah. I think most people still do.
Which is weird, because PlayStation 3 was the bad place to play those games.
Yeah, definitely. But it just shows you
there's also a lot of people that think of GTA 5 as a PS4 game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that. It may have sold more copies on PS4 than it sold
I bet
on
it did.
the other ones.
Because it was tail end of that generation.
Right, you can get it for $20.
They released it on the next one, on the
yeah,
Xbox.
you get it way cheaper on the later consoles.
Yeah, and so I think most people, I think the bulk of GTA Online's business was done on PS4.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, but it is amazing how one decision made out of fear set the future of the games industry. It really did.
I mean, it was certainly. I don't think the PS2 is in the same position without it.
Yeah,
because when that came out, all of a sudden, everyone I knew kind of was shown the game by somebody, and then they were like, "I need a PS2 to play this."
I mean, don't forget, the PS2 is still the best-selling console of all time. It may not last another year in that spot, but it is, as of right now, it is still the best-selling console.
It will, until they keep run out of 10 million copies to sort of drag out. Like, oh, we forgot about these.
Also in the course of all these interviews they've been doing with the OG PlayStation people, the guy who would know if there are more PS2s out there, has said that's it. That he knows exactly how many were manufactured, and that number that they just updated, that is it. So if Switch can get past that number now, it will be the best-selling console.
Also worth noting that it was the day after we made fun of the definitive editions. Again, they put out that patch that fixed a whole bunch of stuff in the definitive editions.
Yeah, that's true.
Bringing them up to par with the mobile versions. What in the hell did you people do? It's still better to mod the old ones.
Yeah.
Because then you don't lose the songs and the lighting is still correct.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put up with the modern the character models. Like they tried to replicate that weird cartoony
like their box art basically.
A box art thing, but the problem was like they kind of looked like that in the games in 3 and Vice City. They didn't do that in game in San Andreas.
Right.
And so everyone in San Andreas looks really weird.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So and nothing really. I mean,
they went for a realistic look.
CJ doesn't have like 4 kinds of scoliosis on the bikes anymore, but he still doesn't look like himself anymore.
I agree.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I kind of knew when these games were coming out exclusively for PlayStation. I kind of knew at that time that was PlayStation kind of putting its foot on the neck of the industry. I mean, once
I wasn't
GTA
sure
3
what was
took
happening.
off,
I wasn't really sure that they, I don't think I knew that they'd paid. Anyone knew they'd paid for exclusivity. It felt like exclusivity at the time for this was just sort of like that's the only place they could go.
Right.
Like PC.
Only platform it
PC
worked.
games were just where you went to get yourself pirated.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was not going to be a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Xbox wasn't really off the ground yet. PS2 was the industry leader. It made the other GTA games had been on PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
It just made sense you were going to continue.
You needed a console that had discs.
Right.
If only to just play the music that you want to play as the soundtrack for the game and be able to hold it all without having like 20 cartridges.
Right. And now
or having it sound like crap.
Now to be fair, the eventual Xbox versions of these were better.
Yeah.
Because they let you aim.
Retro Modern Gamer reminds us also that the PS2 is cheaper than the OG Xbox and released well before it as well. Yeah. The Legacy asks, besides Halo, what killer app was on the OG Xbox? I mean, that's it.
Nothing. Until Ninja Gaiden came out.
Yeah, that was the other one.
And that's not as universal as Halo. Otherwise, the launch lineup for the original Xbox was just like, what in the...
It was awful.
Like,
it's just all shovelware.
Where's my nostalgia video for Nightcaster and Azuric?
Yeah, Azuric. I forgot.
We're going to rehabilitate Azuric anytime soon, YouTubers? We're going to do that?
I mean, they did the Voodoo Vince remaster. If they're going to do that, anything's fair game.
If you're going to sit there and tell me that Croc was good,
right?
Can we get a Nightcaster retrospective? Can we try that? I just want to see how far you can push this bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, at the time, a decision made under pressure and due to fear that changed the outlook of the games industry forever. And it's still reverberating today. A lot of people still think that Grand Theft Auto is a PlayStation exclusive game, even though it's not. And you can watch a trailer that shows the other consoles listed at the end, and people are like, no, that's a PlayStation exclusive. People still feel that way today. Okay.
Crimson Skies was not a launch title, but that was a good game.
That was a good one. Yeah, that's another one that's kind of stood up and stood the test of time.
There were some Xbox games in there. You had KOTOR, you had Ninja Gaiden, you had I like the Mech Assault games.
Yeah,
those were fun. They weren't amazing, but they were fun.
What was the racing game with the kudos?
Oh, Project Gotham Racing.
That was pretty good.
Cool. Rally Sport Challenge or the chat.
Rally Sport Challenge was a good one. Yep, that's another one. So there are some.
Fusion Frenzy.
I mean, they're not killer apps, but they're good games.
Yeah, they're not buy the more expensive system games, but they're like, I'm glad I have this games.
Yeah.
Although the racing games were hard for me because, especially with Project Gotham, I remember
it was hard.
Well, it was hard, but also that fucking controller. That trigger was so stiff that I remember when we first got those systems, I played Project Gotham Racing for like 4 hours the day we got that, and but eventually it became like 8 p.m. and Miguel, my friend, Miguel, the other producer, was like, "Hey, we should probably go eat."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Okay." And when I put the controller down, like when you hit your finger with a hammer and it feels like the pain is trying to rise up out of your finger. It felt like that because I'd been holding down this hard trigger for so long. I'm like, oh my god, I think I damaged my finger playing this game.
Yeah, that was an innovative racing game though. It was basically encourage you to drive crazy.
Right. It wasn't as innovative if you'd played the first one, which was Metropolis Street Racer on Dreamcast. But it was nice to see a Dreamcast game survive into another
and the Xbox felt like Dreamcast 2 in some ways.
Yeah, I also I don't think you get Forza Horizon without Gotham Racing.
No way.
I think that's a direct descent.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Okay, our final story for today's headlines is a cultural story. I'm sure you guys have all been following this crazy story in the news about this guy who assassinated the CEO of United Healthcare, which is like the biggest health insurance provider in the United States, and has a 32% rejection rate of claims, which is insane. So they caught the guy, or they think they caught the guy. I don't know. I guess we'll find out if it actually is the guy.
I seem pretty sure. I don't understand why the guy has completely different eyebrows than the original picture and was in a McDonald's almost a week later.
Almost a week later.
With the murder weapon and a printout of his manifesto. Do people his age even print things anymore?
Why wouldn't you throw away the murder weapon? You had a week to dispose of the murder weapon.
Why wasn't it in the backpack that they found full of Monopoly money?
The whole thing's crazy.
Very strange.
But the guy that they ended up arresting for this,
and his name is Luigi Mangione. Like you would this would be rejected from a Law and Order screenplay,
right?
Like editorial board. Like there's no way. It's like, come on, man, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, as it turns out, the guy that they arrested, whether you believe if he's the actual shooter or not, he used to work on Civilization 6. He was a game developer at one point.
He was an intern.
He was only an intern?
Yeah, he was a UI intern. He apparently reported worked on 300 bugs in the UI.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he was a
developer. Yeah. But it's just crazy how small like the world really is that this guy has worked in video games in the past.
I mean, odds are if you're a rich tech kid, you probably have worked on video games somewhere.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's not that hard to get an internship when your parents are something like the third richest people in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, the confusing thing to me is, like, he worked with all these people, but no one saw those pictures.
Yeah, those pictures were up there, and no one was like, hey, I know that guy. He worked with us for the UI for Civ 6.
Yeah.
And it's some old person in McDonald's?
Yes, recognize him.
Recognize some random stranger off a single photo of, like, I don't know, man.
I also found it funny.
I don't like to go full conspiracy nut here, but it's just like, what is going on?
Some things aren't adding up.
Man.
It's really weird. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, why would you carry the murder weapon with you? Like, for a week?
My favorite...
You've passed so many lakes and streams you could have thrown that thing into.
My favorite meme on this is a picture of Luigi holding a gun, and it just says Luigi's man shun. Like, shunning a man. Like, very good.
It's crazy.
And then someone else this was days before his name, before they arrested him.
Vincent says it's because old people are the only people who wanted him to be caught.
That's also true. That is also accurate.
What I found interesting was how the authorities and the cops did a victory lap when they caught him. And it turns out they had no idea where he was. They were looking for him in Atlanta. And he was in Altoona.
Have you seen the footage of the NYPD like slowly poking through bushes like someone lost their wallet? I'm just like, bro, we know you're just charging overtime.
And it was just some grandma at McDonald's that's really the hero, so to speak. Like, she's the only one.
What are you doing going to McDonald's? Like,
none of it adds up.
Also, everyone's like, oh my God, look how ripped he is. First off, like, that dude, those are ab implants, right? Like that, like he
has ab implants.
It looks like it to me. It looks like his abs are like a layer on top of his abdominal wall.
I never saw that. It
doesn't look like he's very ripped.
Wow.
And like, and he went to McDonald's.
Yeah, he's all right. He's crazy.
I mean, to
like
be fair, he only got a black coffee.
Right.
So
the whole thing's insane.
He went to work on his book or some shit or something. He was writing something. I think
it was his manifesto, Matt.
But then how did he print it?
I don't know. Who has printers today other than old people like us?
I have a printer, but like so few people have printers that the younger people I know come over to print things here.
Yeah,
like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Emperor Dread says the cops literally like $1 million in OT to walk around Central Park. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They ate up like millions of dollars, and they had no clue where he was.
Yeah, he's got like huge screws in his back from a surfing accident. That's supposedly what happened here. That like he was rejected for a claim because of that or whatever. But like again, his family is richer than the guy he shot.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
That they own country clubs. They're like there's all these weird connections. The family owns a bunch of retirement homes, like assisted living facilities. They're healthcare.
Yeah, they actually work.
They're like it's one of the richest families in Maryland.
From healthcare, yeah,
in Maryland. Like you know how rich Maryland is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You want to talk about one of the richest people in Baltimore? Yeah. You know how rich that is? Yeah. And like it's not like they couldn't just pay for whatever treatment they needed. Like that's That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. None of it adds up. It's really bizarre. But anyway, he worked in the game development industry.
And his name is Luigi.
So it's a crazy story. And
my other favorite thing was like this. Some guy tweeted. It was days before they arrested the guy or anything, and it was just like police in New York looking for a 5'10" white Italian guy, and it was that mini game where it's
like everybody.
Where it's the head. It's just the heads of Mario, Wario, and Yoshi floating around and there's one Luigi head floating through it, and you have to find the Luigi head. It's like the mini game and
wow.
I think it was a WarioWare game it's a GBA. It's GBA graphics. And like 5 days, like yesterday, somebody retweeted that and said, "I don't think any joke has aged better than this one." And then the guy who originally posted goes, "I didn't know. I swear to God." Like the fact that it was one Luigi. I mean,
it's insane.
Like it would be funnier if you tweeted it now.
Right.
Like like, the writers are trying something new with reality, and I think the simulation's breaking down. Like that's.
I noticed that the news, like some of the news channels, like included video game developer in the rundown of like his whatever.
Because they don't know what else to blame it on.
Right, and I think that's what they were trying to do. Like, he worked in that shady games industry.
Nothing makes you quite so violent as the Civ 6. Well, actually, yeah, a little bit.
It's all coming together now.
It needed some work at launch. Let's put it that way.
Kung One says, "Sounds like a conspiracy theorist wet dream." It really is, because it's like nothing's adding up.
If you look at his Twitter, like none of it adds. It's like he is all this right wing shit. He's quoting Peter Thiel, but he's also like he hates corporations, but then he also hates atheists, and then it's just this crazy mix of every kind of anything you can think of. And he seemed pretty normal about 6 months ago, and then something changed.
Happened.
Probably because of that, you put that many screws in your spine, it's gonna have
and the company won't pay for it. But still, like if you're wealthy, like okay, it sucks, but
it's also your parent. Like you're wealthy, and your whole family makes your money out of healthcare. But then apparently, like a bunch of those living facilities that they own were being bought up by either United Healthcare or like a related company, and they were basically because they conglomerate everything together, they can determine what is and isn't standard practice, which lets them deny as many as they want because that's not standard practice.
Everybody else is denying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but like, what was he after justice? Was he just pissed off? Was he just crazy? Or did he do it at all?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really bizarre.
Because I'll tell you, I don't think. I mean, obviously a unibrow can grow very quickly. I recognize that. But the eyebrows...
The growth routes of unibrows.
Right, the eyebrows of the guy in the mask do not look like him.
Yeah. And I mean, he does have the same brushy eyebrows and a big nose.
Sure, but it's just a different shape. And it looks like a different shape in all the old photos of him, too. Not just now.
Wow.
Like, I don't know. I'm not a face-blind person. I'm not one of those people that's like, well, look at all the crisis actors that are... I'm like, no, those are two different human beings. They're very... I'm sorry you can't tell the difference between Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman. Right. But, like, those are... not, I know they look similar, but they are obviously not the same person.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like the same person.
It is really weird. It's bizarre. But anyway, I'm sure we'll get more details, and I'm sure the mainstream news will be sure to mention over and over again that he worked in the games industry to make our industry look.
But I don't know, because otherwise the only explanation would be that the cops planted evidence on him, and they would never do that.
No, they don't do that stuff. Yeah,
that's what I learned from watching Dick Wolf shows.
Exactly.
Doink doink.
All right, that's gonna do it for headlines for GameFace 415. We're about to review Game of the Year contender Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. But before we do that, here's a word from our awesome sponsor, and a sponsor that you need right now. Trust me, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. That's right, people. Cream ass that ass. For the holidays, go to creamls.com/sifted. Again, this is the high time for LS Cream. In fact, this is the time you can turn other people onto LS Cream because they are expecting to drink drinks that have liqueur in them that aren't crazy so strong where you're like, oh, I can't drink that. They go down nice and smooth and create a good vibe for the holidays. That's what LS Cream is all about. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. I see Justin Horman says in chat, I just bought a bottle last week and gave it to a friend as a gift. You do that, I guarantee whoever that friend is going to remember to reply to you and be like, hey, I actually really like this LS Cream stuff. You won't get that with a bunch of V-Bucks for Fortnite. So again, go to creamls.com/sifted. You can find out where to buy it locally or how to buy it online, and you can even send it to a friend just like Justin Horman did. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. And with that, it's time to talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. What's its Metacritic at right now?
I don't remember.
9-ish, around a 9.
So high 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
86, 87.
People have been talking about it. It's a Game of the Year contender. Just full disclosure, I've played not quite half of the game. It's been very hard, as I said at the show open, for me to find time to play games this week. So I just had to squeeze it in whenever I could. My mom would go to bed. She's still on East Coast time. So I'd end up playing it from like 11 p.m. until like 2:30 or 3 in the morning. But I did manage to get at least about halfway through the game.
It's also pretty long.
Apparently it's like 30 hours, like if you really try to do everything. But I guess if you just play it straight through, it's around 20, something like that.
Yeah, well, I didn't play it at a I wasn't breaking my way through it so much because they didn't add ray tracing for the first few days.
Yeah. Did you play this on your PC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't add for the first which is again, people paid for the premium edition to play it early. I paid to play it early because it gave me a jump on being able to talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, if I'd bought it, people paid extra to get a worse version of the game because they didn't add path tracing and ray tracing to it until 2 days ago. And I'll tell you, I don't actually regret it that much because I played through most of the Vatican in the pre-patch, and you put the patch in, load it up, turn everything on. Oh, wow.
Makes a big difference.
What a difference. Like, oh my God.
It's a good-looking game.
It's a gorgeous game.
It really is, yeah. I was really impressed. I'm like, Machine Games, okay.
This is the game, like, a bunch of my casual friends are, like, upset they don't get to play, because they all play PS5s.
Yeah.
They're upset they don't get to play it for 6 months.
Yeah, so just so you know, it's available now for PC and Xbox Series, and then it comes out for PlayStation 5 in about 6 months. So there's a 6-month exclusivity period if you're a PlayStation owner. Pay attention to this still, because in 6 months you're going to have the opportunity to buy this game as well. Now, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, pay $20 for the month, play it on Game Pass. I would argue, having played a good bit of this game, that you probably could play this streaming as well without too many problems. There's not like a lot of split-second sort of things where a little bit of lag or a little bit of delay will impact the game all that much, other than swinging with the whip. That is the one thing that felt a little clunky to me, and where maybe a couple milliseconds might make a difference on whether you latch onto that next hold as well as you would hope to.
He vacuums up to the next thing pretty easily, though.
Yeah. I guess the first thing I would say is that this game encapsulates Indiana Jones, like, flawlessly. It really does. Like, the vibe of watching the films is in this game. And pretty much every moment that I've played it, like, you can really tell that there are huge fans of Indiana Jones that made this game. And if they weren't before they started working on it, they got up to speed real quick because they figured it all out. Like, all the tenets of the movie franchise, like the intentional ignorance, like, gags where somebody's just an idiot, like, that's something that's always in Indiana Jones films. And you come across characters like that all the time in this game. Just buffoons that do dumb stuff, and then Indiana Jones makes fun of them. Like, he always has the dialogue going on in his head where he's talking to himself, and some of those quips are really funny, his observational quips about the people around him or the situations around him. The voice acting, wow.
Yeah, they didn't really do Troy justice in the trailers.
Wow.
He nails it like 90% of the time.
It's crazy how good he is and how close he is.
There's a bit early on when you're going to the Vatican for the first time, you're packing up in his office, and it's implied that basically this takes place, I think, a year after Raiders, and basically he went to Siwa for a dig and came back and Marion was gone, which actually lines up with some of the things that are implied in other Indiana Jones material. And So he basically the inciting incident happens where this giant breaks into the museum and steals a cat mummy that he dug up in Siwa. So he decides to go after him, and he's packing everything up. And Marcus is in there, and he's like, you can't keep running from your problems, Indiana.
Yeah.
And Indy turns around and looks at him and goes, "Watch me." And like Troy's delivery on "Watch me" is flawless, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And then it pushes in on the map on the wall, and you get the map sequence of traveling, and it's like, yeah, it's Indiana Jones. Like, there's no way around it. He also really nails the tone, and I think this is hard to do. He nails the tone that Harrison Ford always had when Indy discovers things. Mm-hmm. Like when you can tell why he does this.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone doing an impersonation of Indiana Jones in any of the other games or material. I don't think anyone's ever nailed it like Troy did in this.
Yeah.
Like when he's doing that, it's just on the level of when he's discovering the Holy Grail trail marker things in Last Crusade. Yep. Like it's very, very good.
And as you can see, the game kicks off with basically a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that's a smart move because I think a lot of Indiana Jones fans will immediately feel familiarity with the game starting out this way.
It's like, well, every Indiana Jones thing has to start with a bang.
Right.
And if you can't think of a better one,
yeah.
do this one.
It generally does start slow, though, because it doesn't start with like a cutscene. It's just him with the crew walking through the jungle. Now, if you're an Indiana Jones fan, you very quickly realize what's going on. You're like, oh, okay, this is from Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it does start a little slow, like the kind of walk and talk as you get to like the ruins, and like it's a kind of a strange way to start a video game, but I like it. Like I also think that's also very Indiana Jones. I just felt like they just nailed it. Like I always felt like I was playing an Indiana Jones game while playing this. And that's a big part of the battle that's hard to win when you're working with stuff like this, particularly properties that have kind of been irrelevant for a while. I realize there's been 2 films, but both of them have been pretty abysmal. I mean, first thing I would say is that the story in this I like better than the story in the last 2 Indiana Jones films.
This feels much more like Indiana Jones in the last 2 movies, and not just because of like, setting or placement or whatever, because it's not afraid to do what made Indiana Jones interesting in the first place, and that is largely the mystery on this involves very heavily involves Judeo-Christian mythology.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny made up bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and I know there are real, quote unquote, real crystal skulls or whatever, but none of that had anything to do with what happened in that movie. The Dial of Destiny is a time machine, doesn't really exist. The Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant have actual mythology in real religions and real life.
Yeah.
So there are people who believe those are real things in real life, and that would make them more compelling.
Yep.
And this does that same thing, and it doesn't shy away from it. And almost everything, other than those 2 movies, and Last Crusade and Raiders, have shied away from that. Like even the Fate of Atlantis, is afraid to touch the religion.
Yeah.
And religion is shot through this game all the way.
It really is. Yeah. I don't think.
You spend the first 10 hours of the game in the Vatican.
Yeah.
Disguised as a priest.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing they nail is Indiana Jones dressing up as things in disguise and being fucking terrible at pretending to be anyone other than himself.
Well, one thing I thought was
cool.
And
everyone sees right through it immediately, especially the bad guys.
Well, yeah, so like the enemy captains in the game will see through your disguise. So you can't go around them with a disguise or you will be found out. But if you hang around the rank and file soldiers and enemies, they have no clue. And there's awesome little touches like that littered throughout the entire game. Just these little things that make it more indie, in my opinion. And I think that they chose very well when deciding which elements to focus on and things like that. I feel like they really understand what makes the IP tick. Machine Games does. Like it just,
which is unusual considering even the people who created the IP
can't figure it out anymore. It's really crazy. So yeah, it starts out with this Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's set between that film and the next one. And you travel to, as Matt mentioned, you're in Italy at the Vatican, and you travel to Egypt. Basically,
and by the way, that might be the best looking recreation of the pyramids of Giza area I've ever seen in a game.
Oh yeah,
like maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator looks better if you dive between them,
or until you get real close and it breaks up.
But like it's
crazy.
I took a picture with my phone of my screen and sent it to like my movie night group, and I'm like, this Indiana Jones game looks pretty good, and they're like, that's a game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
it looks that good.
And also because it's id Tech and not Unreal, it runs really well.
Yeah.
I have this thing maxed out, ultra, everything, 4K, full path tracing, everything. I still get 80 frames per second with no frame gen.
Wow.
Which is good because the frame gen in this game is fucked.
Oh, it is?
It's terrible. It bottlenecks every 7 or 8 seconds and drops the frame rate runs at like 144 and drops to 20.
Yeah.
And it's unplayable.
The amount of work that's gone into this game is pretty astounding. Because,
but you don't need it because it's like the id tech's so good.
Yeah.
It runs fine without it.
It's like a lot of modern games. It's like they put you out into the open world and you interact with these characters, and the characters just kind of live out in the world. This entire game is like curated and hand built. Every scene, every cutscene, it is a fairly linear game.
And actually, just in the chat, Ashes in the Hourglass. I will back Ashes in the Hourglass on that. I will take Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny over Temple of Doom. I do not like Temple of Doom and never did.
Huh.
I think it's too mean and too dark and just I think it's a nasty, angry film, and it does not. I do not enjoy it the way I enjoy Raiders and Last Crusade.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, is the best one.
Raiders is almost objectively the best film. Yeah. Crusade is my favorite, but Raiders is the best one.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
That's what I would say.
Temple of Doom, I still feel is good, though, and I think it's better than the last two. Like,
I don't.
Really?
I would rather watch the other two instead of
Really? I thought the last two were so bad. In fact,
I don't think they're good, really very good, but Temple of Doom makes me feel gross. I have never liked. I never looked at it that way. Other than the opening at the club with the poison vial, like that's great.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get on the plane, like everyone just starts being an asshole to each other. Eventually, Indy slaps a child.
That's true.
It's just I just don't like. I think I don't like. It's made by two men going through a divorce that got real dark about some of this shit. And I think it's very obvious.
Comes through. Yeah.
It all comes through. It's not if Adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones, but Adventure's kind of an asshole in this one.
So anyway, the plot is basically that the Great Circle is the biggest archaeological mystery of all time, and basically the Great Circle is a selection of locations around the globe that all align in a perfect circle. And so basically the game is you're trying to beat the Nazis to the Great Circle. That's the basic crux of the game. And characters like this get involved, and like this character actually is really cool and like comes back later and does stuff that you wouldn't expect. And again, I think that's very Indiana Jones, is like having these characters.
Yeah. He always fights a big guy.
Right.
That he can't handle.
Just whoops his
Usually
butt.
played by the same dude.
Yeah.
In all three movies.
Yep. And then the Nazis, they nail the Nazis in this.
These are some of the best Nazi villains in anything.
Yeah, you will hate the Nazis like you should.
Like even the other Nazis hate the main villain. Nazi
Boss is his name.
Like he's such an asshole and such a monster.
And there is one line that he says that really caught my attention. He says,
"Oh yeah, because he has a conflict with one of the colonels in who like I think he's a Wehrmacht colonel, and like but the main bad guy has basically like special dispensation from Hitler because he's looking for the magic power stuff.
Right.
And so the colonel hates him because he has to basically do what he says even though he outranks him.
Yeah.
And so he just belittles the guy. He just makes the guy look about an inch tall in front of all his dudes as soon as he gets to Giza. Yeah. And he gets in the car and does the line.
And he says, "There's nothing more easy to manipulate than an insecure male."
Yep.
And I was just like...
And I don't want to shock you,
ding, ding.
But there's a lot of hit dogs hollering on social media about that line.
It is so apropos to what's going on right now in America. It's really... I mean, I don't know if that was intentional on Machine Games' part.
100%.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. Machine Games, no one knows more about belittling Nazis than Machine Games.
That's all their games are.
That's what they've been doing. This Machine Games kills fascists.
Yeah.
That's what the shirt was for.
Yeah. And so you go to the Vatican, as Matt mentioned, you go to Egypt, and you spend a lot of time at each one of these locations. Like, there's only like 4 or 5 throughout the entire game, and you spend hours and hours at each one of these, and they are like deep...
It's funny, at the end of the Vatican section there, basically the bad guy shows up and steals a bunch of these Great Circle relics from the Vatican treasury. Yeah. And they just start packing this suitcase with this briefcase with him, like, oh, I guess we're not going to any of those places. Like, we're going to 4 or 5 places because that's how many slots are left in the briefcase.
Because it clues you in to how many places you're going to go to. Yeah, totally. But I thought the plot was great. Like they do a great job of making you hate the Nazis as if they needed any help.
It feels like a very solid Indiana Jones movie. just the same thing. Like we followed this breadcrumb to this exotic location, and we got involved in weird shit here, and he met one of his old friends because he's always got old friends. Little continuity thing where or continuation thing where his friend in the Vatican calls him Henri,
right?
Which we aren't supposed to know until Last Crusade.
Yeah,
it was like we know that because it's all being done out of order. Which is a lot of fun. You find you read the documents you'll find things where like the Vatican's been watching them for all this time, and like there's like stuff about his dad, and stuff about the Grail research and stuff about his history with Belloc, the bad guy in Raiders. At the very beginning, you can find a map of the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, which is the Disneyland ride. Like they did everything you can think of is in here.
That's what I was saying. Like, there's little touches that you discover throughout the course of the game that it's just like it just sinks you into this universe. Let's talk about the gameplay. The variety of gameplay in this is pretty impressive. There's stealth, as you're seeing right now, and obviously you use lots of distraction. There's fisticuffs, there's the whip, there's a lot more platforming than I thought that there was going to be, and there's like a pretty huge photography.
A lot more platforming than he thought there was going to be, because he's not happy about a lot of it.
There's a huge photography element to the game where you can snap pictures of stuff, and if you're a completionist, you should snap pictures of everything that catches your eye.
Now, I'm glad it tells you.
Yeah.
A little camera icon pops up when there's something to take a picture of.
Yep.
He does take a picture of cats early on. Side quest about that, which I thought was... I mean, obviously, I support taking pictures of cats whenever possible, but there was part of me that was like, I feel like Indy is more of a dog person, because he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But actually, the first time you take a picture of the cat, Indy goes, more of a dog guy, really. And I was like, there you go, exactly. I knew you were. I knew that. We all know. We named the dog Indiana. We know that.
Yeah. The whip is his probably most functional tool. As I mentioned earlier, swinging with the whip is a little janky. I don't feel confident anytime I'm doing it.
I do, but only because there's so much autopilot.
Yeah, it helps.
You really don't need, as long as you've swung far enough forward, it doesn't matter when you press jump.
It will just like kind of magnetize to the next.
It'll suck you into the next
thing.
For
sure.
As long as you've got the height right and you have told the game you're swinging, like, it will get you there.
It'll get you there, yeah. But again, I felt like on edge.
Also, if you don't like this, there's 2 other ways into this area.
Right.
There's always multiple ways to get into everything.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
I mean...
It really does have, like, people have compared it to Dishonored. It does have a Dishonored quality to it.
A lot of people have been calling this game an immersive sim. It kind of is.
I hate that term anyway.
I know, but...
I would argue that this is kind of how point-and-click adventures should have evolved.
Fair enough. Like, I mean, there's a little bit more action in this than maybe a point and click, but
point and click games try to do that all the time back in the day.
Yeah.
Like the old Indiana, the Fate of Atlantis wants to have sequences like this.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the tech or ability to do it.
Yeah, well, back then for sure.
Like this is in a lot of ways a direct descendant of Fate of Atlantis.
But I like the little cool stuff that you can do with the whip, like disarming enemies. They pull out a gun, you can just whip it out of their hands. Yeah. You can whip an enemy and pull them into you, and then use your fisticuffs.
As long as you read the right book.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like all the documents and books in this, and what do they call it? Legwork or fieldwork?
Fieldwork.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of the game too, man. Just reading the documents and reading maps and like.
I think it's very funny that like. The way you upgrade in large part is you find these manuals that tell you how to do these various things. So you'll find a book that tells you how to do the thing with a whip pole, where you pull something to it. But like one of the things is you find books that teach you how to pack more efficiently, so you can hold more items, which is very funny to me.
I mean, again, like that humor permeates the entire game. Like I love that. Like this could just be like a really serious like Tomb Raider clone or whatever.
Justin
but
Horman's also correct. Like I don't know. I haven't played far enough into Giza to really know yet. But everyone in the Vatican is sneezing constantly. Like all the black shirt fascist guys are sneezing all the time, and I'm like, why are they allergic to something? Like what is
all the dust on the
relics? Is
that
a joke I'm missing? I don't
know where it comes from. Actually, that's a good point. There's not much gunplay in the early going, but eventually. It's the further you play, the more guns become a thing. You start to get more ammo. Like at first, you get a gun, you get like a couple bullets. Eventually, you get to the point where you get full on like machine guns, and you get big cases of bullets and things like that. It never turns into a shooter.
No, it's generally not a good idea to go in guns blazing because you alert everybody in the area.
Yeah,
but you can flip the gun around and beat people to death with it.
Yeah, so you can use it as a melee weapon, which is great. And to Matt's point earlier, another thing I really like about this is that there are almost always multiple ways to do everything. There's always multiple tools lying around. Like you can pick up anything in this game and use it as a melee weapon. Literally anything. Like, you can just pick up the dumbest thing and just smack somebody with it, and at the very least...
Just like Indy does.
Right.
And there's different animations and clever things with every single
thing. That happens with them.
Like, even if you're beating people up with a feather duster,
yeah.
there's going to be
a fly swatter. I was smacking people with a fly swatter at one point, and there's like, I was just laughing. I'm walking around slapping people with the fly swatter. Again, like, you can even make your own comedy in this game. Like, you don't even have to rely on the actual game to supply the yucks. Like, you can do it on your own, just messing around with the tools that they give you to play the game. I also like how you can leave the map open while you move around, like a little subtle thing that I really appreciate when games do that. Then there's some weird stuff. Like, there's one part where you can click the left stick to climb faster, which is a little odd. I guess it's just supposed to be sprint, but you're climbing.
I mean, it needs it at times. Like,
because it does feel a little slow at times.
Yeah. I mean, the weight is realistic, but also, like, get on with it. Like,
there's a stamina in this, but it's not this kind of stamina that I hate, where it's like, in the middle of combat, you become so tired that you can't go on. It's more for, like, the climbing and the platforming stuff, when you're, like,
although it does affect combat, it's just your moves become less effective. It's not like you can't punch or block anymore. You just can't really counter.
Yeah. And then you eat food and use bandages to recover your health. And
Indy loves a good apple.
Yep, the sound effect of eating the apple is very satisfying.
Yeah, that is basically. That's not explained very well, I don't think.
Yeah.
But basically what it is if you eat bread and if you eat carbs, you get basically a life bar on top of your life bar.
Yeah.
And it will drain that before it drains your actual health.
Yeah.
And then the fruit does the same thing with your stamina bar. Which means the instant you start running, you lose the first bar of the fruit bar.
Yeah.
But, like, it's fine. It gives you a little extra to work with in situations where you think you're going to need, a little extra. And you should always keep the health. You should always eat all the bread.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely an important thing to know. And you can get, one thing I did like is if you see the life bar in the lower left corner there, they're all broken up into the segments. That basically works like if you go below the segment, it doesn't regenerate.
Yeah.
You have to eat. You have to
once you go over the hills.
You have to use bandages. You can find books that merge those into larger bars, so you can take more damage on that bar and have it fully regen after the fight. Which I think is a really interesting way of making him feel more powerful.
For sure.
Changing how everything works in the process.
Yeah, I agree as well. And then there you can fast travel at signposts, but this isn't one of those games where you get caught way out in some open world and you can't get back to where you need to go. Like, the game does a pretty good job of leading you down a linear path, and you can just kind of just keep going.
There are moments where I'm just like, I don't remember how to get back to the Sistine Chapel from here.
And I'll just use a signpost and fast travel. Yeah, you just don't want to deal with it. But it's not that if you do try to figure it out, it's not that horrible.
No. Also, it really, like there is a full recreation of the Sistine Chapel ceiling in this game.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It really is.
Like, it's incredible.
It took a while for the texture to snap into clarity for me. Did that happen to you?
No, it didn't happen to me.
Yeah, like at first I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks really bleh, and then it snapped into view. I was like, okay. And it did look amazing once it snapped in.
This game, other than having to mess with the frame gen problems, and I had to turn HDR off before the patch because it was messing with the lighting on some stuff. Other than that, graphically, it's been flawless.
Yeah, well, I have one other complaint. Like, Indy sometimes looks a little dead-eyed. Like, there's some...
Well, luckily, you never see him much, so...
There are some cutscenes, though, where he also has, like, slumped shoulders, where his shoulders, like, angle down. His character model looks a little weird at times when he doesn't have his full garb on. I think if he has his full outfit on, he looks fine. But when he's just wearing like an undershirt without a jacket, he looks a little weird.
Once you take the outerwear off him, it's a little odd.
Yeah, but I mean that's just
minor.
That's just nitpicking.
I still don't fully understand why it's first person. Other than machine games just preferring to work in first person.
Yeah.
Probably.
But it was never found it awkward with the transitions, really, because we were wondering, like,
I don't find it awkward. I just find it disappointing.
Yeah,
like you get this great cutscene which feels just like an Indiana Jones movie, and they'll do all this stuff, and then it like zooms into his perspective, and now I'm just playing a first person shooter.
Yeah,
I don't feel like Indiana Jones anymore, and also like. I don't think of myself as Indiana Jones. I want to play as this character, and putting me in the shoes of that character first person doesn't feel as satisfying to me as if I could see the character.
Yeah, I get that.
That's a nitpick. It doesn't ruin anything. It doesn't like lower the game at all for me.
Yeah.
But there are just moments where I'm just like, I don't know why this is first person.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really get me anything.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think it would lose anything if there was a third person mode.
Yeah. This game to me is like, a throwback in all the best ways.
Yeah, especially with how often you change your clothes.
Right.
And there are there's a pre-order and the special edition bonus are like different outfits for him. You never see the fucking outfit.
No, you're right.
So what's the point of offering that?
No, I hear you. Yeah, and other than cutscenes.
Right.
Yeah, you really don't see it. But generally, this game is like the best like game from like 2010 or whatever that you've ever played. It is a bit of a throwback in its design, but I feel like this is the best way to handle an Indiana Jones game. Plus, with the narrative, you want the narrative to be linear, I think, for an Indiana Jones game. So I think they chose the right angles with this game as far as almost every decision that they made. I didn't have as many problems with the switch from third to first person as I thought I was going to. Because we saw some of those trailers where he would like jump from like a cliff and it'd go to third person showing him jumping and then it would cut like in midair and all of a sudden you're in first person coming down on enemies. I was like, man, that seems a little awkward. Playing the game though, I haven't really come across a lot of stuff that really kind of...
Yeah, like the only thing that really bothers me in that regard is there's no real good way to go down. Like, you're supposed to turn around and back off a ledge, and then he'll grab it in third person as you fall, which is a very awkward transition. And then you can't look down enough to really tell whether you're going to get hurt when you drop or not.
Yeah.
That's the only real issue with it, as far as I've been able to tell. And a lot of times I just drop anyway. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. Like, I wish you could, like, fasten the whip to something and then use it to go down, which is...
That would be cool.
Sort of, but you're sort of at the mercy of whether the physics lets you do it without breaking the connection of the whip.
Yeah.
The nitpicking, though.
Yeah. I mean, overall, this is a great game. Like, I think its Metacritic is about right.
Yeah. A little low, even.
Yeah, maybe. I think a lot of that would depend on how much you love the IP or how much you know the IP.
Yeah.
If you know the IP, the more you know this IP, the more you're going to like this game.
Yeah, go ahead and add like a point
if
you're an indie fan.
I think so. Absolutely.
If you don't know anything about Indiana Jones, I think it's still a good game.
It's still a great game, yeah. But if you're a fan, this is crack. Like, this indie crack. Like, they did an amazing... I never would have guessed this for Machine Games. I just never would have. Like, the Wolfenstein games, like, they don't have this much character. They just don't. Like, they are more like shocked. It's like shocking.
They don't have character in the gameplay sections, really.
Yeah.
But I think considering what they started with with Wolfenstein, I think they get a surprising amount of character out of BJ.
That's actually a good point.
And his crew.
That's actually a good point.
Like, you're working from a fully formed character in Indiana Jones here, and I think they just nailed that really well. But like, I feel like I know something about who BJ Blazkowicz is from their Wolfenstein games.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Nothing like this, though.
Not enough that I cared about his daughters.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But like enough that I was surprised that like, oh, okay, there's actually some stuff going on here. The main thing I remember about the first Wolfenstein from them is like, wow, this is a lot hornier than I thought the Wolfenstein game would be.
That's funny. But I have really enjoyed my time playing this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue playing it. I'm going to finish this game.
Actually,
absolutely.
You know, my favorite skill in this game is Lucky Hat. You get that?
I didn't.
It's one of the books. It's early. It's like, I think it's the first skill book I found.
Must have missed it. Yeah.
It's basically, if you get killed, it'll change to you'll change to a blacked out screen, and the only thing that's highlighted is his hat.
Uh-huh.
And if you pick his hat up, you get to stand back up with full health again.
Oh.
Which is like the most Indiana Jones thing.
It really is.
And
again, though, this
he
game
just
has all
stands
that
up,
stuff.
adjusts the hat, and it's just like, there we go. Like, it's just like, yep, that's absolutely correct.
It is. Yep. Let's check in with you guys and see what you guys are saying about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Cinetite, do you think Xbox missed on releasing this earlier and missing the Game Awards? They have been lacking major releases, which indie seems like it could have turned the tide. I mean, they really needed this game to come out like at a different point in this year.
Would have been nice to have it at a time where it wasn't going to be swallowed up by end of the year, sort of.
Or just lost. It's like people have already kind of turned the page on 2024.
Yeah, you're no one's going to remember this at the Game Awards or any end of the year awards.
A year from now, because GTA probably is going to come out.
Because a lot
Switch
of other
2 is probably going to come out.
A lot of other outlets have cut. We don't cut off.
Yeah.
But a lot of other outlets do.
Yeah, they do.
And so you're gonna have to wait till next year. I mean, I'm sure if it could have come out earlier, it would have.
I mean, I feel like it probably could have come out 2 weeks ago, and that might have made a difference.
Not if the ray tracing wasn't done.
Yeah. It might have been better, though, to put it out without the ray tracing, just to get it into the lexicon for the end of the year awards and everything.
I don't think there was enough time for that.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, look how much Veilguard got snubbed because nobody had time to play it before
That's
they
true.
had to turn in the nomination.
That's true, actually. And it came out weeks ago. And
out
apparently that
on
was too
Halloween.
late. Yeah, what the hell? That's ridiculous, though. Let's be honest. Like, that's ridiculous.
Some of those people that's afraid of the backlash from the dipshits.
Right. Yep.
Online.
Sleeping Turtle 3, thank you for
guess what?
Prime.
Not nominating that game for your Game of the Year stuff does not make sense with the score you gave it.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't. How do you explain that? Oh, we're just going to cut it, and now next year we'll just forget the game existed? It's weird. Silk Snake says, could someone who's ever seen a film enjoy this? Someone who's never seen a film enjoy this? It doesn't do enough for people like me with zero. I mean, we kind of mentioned that like it's still a great game for people who aren't big indie fans, but if you are a big indie fan, ka-choo, into the stratosphere. So yeah, I think anybody will. It's a good video game.
Yeah.
The craftsmanship I think is impeccable. People may argue, well, it feels like an old game because it's not open world. I mean, it's open-ish at points.
It's open enough.
And it does give you enough leeway.
It's as open as like a Deus Ex or a Dishonored.
Yeah. And I would also recommend it to people that like those games, although it's not. I wouldn't call it an immersive
It's not on that
sim.
level. It's at best it's a Dishonored light.
Yeah. There's lots of crap to pick up and look at. Like
there's a lot of choice but none of the choices really make any difference.
Right.
It's more about how you get to where you're going, and when you get there, it's going to be the same regardless of what you did. And the puzzles get better as you go. They teach you some things, and you learn how they go. And
they build on themselves.
Eventually, you start doing some stuff that's very much like the movies of like, oh, we open this secret door, now we have to solve this puzzle and this thing inside, and that opens this other thing, and that lets us get inside this thing that no one's been in for thousands of years. But
the torches are lit.
The Nazis are already here because it's like,
the torches are already lit. Someone was here.
But sometimes they're not, and you have to go around and light all the stuff yourself, and I like that too.
Yeah, me too.
There's a lot of good stuff with that.
Mitchell Ness says, I feel like the first-person perspective makes it feel like an indie sim. So I guess that's a different way to look at it.
I would like to play it a third person and see how I feel.
Nightwing 3060. Beating Nazis with hammers. 10 out of 10. Here. Mm-hmm. Olfin81. It's a perfect Christmas game. I mean, it is kind of a good game to give to people for the holidays if they don't have Game Pass or whatever. Because a lot of people would not even realize that this exists. And they get it on Christmas and they're like, what?
It's weirdly...
Indiana Jones game?
To be fair, most of my friends who aren't really super into games do know about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are super into Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
However, you are still that these days. It seems like a hard thing to maintain. But so they heard about it somehow. I don't know how they heard about it. Like, I haven't told anybody about it, but it has penetrated the casuals to some degree in a way that I don't know. Maybe they're advertising in places
I still haven't seen a commercial for it. Have you?
But I don't watch commercials.
I mean, I watched football and I didn't see anything this weekend. Yeah. I watched all day Sunday and never saw a commercial.
That's really the metric, isn't it? Like, is it on the football games?
Pretty much. I mean, that's when you know they've made a significant spend.
Yeah. Or basketball if it's not football season.
Yeah. Football, though, way more expensive than NBA.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, football is going to be where the money is, and partly because that's where Christmas is.
Yep. Yeah. That's true. Yep. Silk Snake asks, do I buy it now or wait for the better version on PS5 after all the patches and updates?
I don't know. What are you playing it on? Playing on a Series X, I'd say get it now.
I think he said PS5 is what he would play it on. He's trying to wait.
Well, he's saying buy it now or wait for the better version on PS5.
Maybe he's talking about PC now.
I mean, if you have a PC that can run this, buy it whenever you want.
Yeah.
And don't play it on PS5 because I guarantee it'll work better on the PC.
Yeah.
If you're talking about playing it on Xbox Series X, you have an S.
An S.
Wait for the PS5.
Yeah, wait for PS5. Yeah. Yep. I would wait because it's worth it to wait. It's that pretty of a game. Yeah. Obviously, our B-roll.
And maybe watch Raiders of the Lost Ark first. Yeah. For God's sake.
Yeah.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
It's really that great. So anyway, that's 2 thumbs up.
Have you not seen Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I don't know, because it's just like you only have so much time, and if you weren't, we were young then. We were the target audience then. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, would you go back and watch an old film like before your time? Do you do that very often and go back and watch a film that your dad really liked?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, all the time.
But you still do?
I have.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the films that my dad liked, I saw when I was a kid, and I liked them too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll go back and watch them. I mean, we just did a movie now. We watched Wizard of Oz.
No, true. I don't watch Wizard of Oz. I was flipping through the channels and it was on. I'm like, I'm gonna stop, and I ended up watching it all the way to the end again. I don't know how many times I've watched that movie.
I haven't watched it that many. Probably like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, I've watched it way more than that. Like dozens of times. Like when I was a kid, we watched it just anytime it would come on TV, we watched it.
I didn't see it come on TV very often when I was a kid.
It was once a year.
once a year.
Yeah.
It was not appointment television for me.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's just the way
Wicked's doing really well as well.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, there you go. That's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That's 2 enthusiastic thumbs up from us here on GameFace. It's available for PC, Xbox Series consoles, coming out for PlayStation 5 in about 6 months. It's not, I would argue that it's not worth buying an Xbox console for. You can wait the 6 months and play it on your PS5. I think it'll be fine. It's not something like that. Although if you do upgrade your PC, I wouldn't upgrade the PC for this game. But if you do, then I would buy this and not wait for the PS5 version. I would absolutely get the
4090. You should be playing this right now.
Yep, agreed. So there you go. That's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We're going to review Marvel Rivals next. But before we do that, here's a word from our sponsor, Leather Spa. Are you struggling to find that holiday gift for the person who has everything? Leather Spa to the rescue. Leather Spa is a go-to resource for discerning clients seeking the finest repair and care needs for their shoes and other leather accessories for more than 30 years. Old clothing has become a global waste problem, and you can do your part by protecting and maintaining items before it's too late. Leather Spa can maintain or repair your leather items, but it also includes water and stain protectors, shampoo and conditioner sets, premium socks, waxes, creams, shoe horns, shoe trees, insoles, and so much more. There's literally something for everyone on your holiday shopping list. Go to shop.leatherspa.com, !CC equals SIFTD to get 20% off through the holidays. Buy someone the gift that keeps on giving, and scratch those hard-to-buy folks off your list. Happy holidays from leatherspa.com. Right now is the perfect time to go to Leather Spa and get gifts for the holidays. While it is a luxury brand and the bulk of their business is cleaning, repairing, maintaining really nice leather items, and they'll even, if you live in New York City, they'll come and pick it up, do it, and bring it back to you, which is really awesome. They also have tons of smaller items there, gift items. Maybe some people like to clean their stuff themselves. Obviously, we just had a sponsorship with New York Sneaker Society. This is the parent company of New York Sneaker Society. So obviously, along that same vein, some people like to clean their own stuff and don't want to send it in, and they have plenty of stuff like that there for you to buy stuff for other people to help them maintain their leather items. Go to shop.leatherspa.com, !CC equals SIFTD, and you get 20% off. There is still plenty of time if you order right now to get your order before the holidays. You can even set it up so that you ship the items directly to whoever you're buying the gift for. There's tons of stuff. Again, go to shop.leatherspa.com. By next week, I hope I memorize this URL. Shop.leatherspa.com, !CC equals SIFTD, and get 20% off your order. And a big thanks to Leather Spa for helping us out and hooking us up around the holidays. Okay, it's time now for Marvel Rivals. We were just talking about hero shooters a little earlier in the show. We were talking about xDefiant, how it went under, in large part because there just aren't a lot of recognizable characters. It's like, yeah, Matt, if you're going to make a hero shooter, there have to be some freaking heroes that people recognize. I have never really resonated with any hero shooter. Like, I play them. I played Overwatch 2 for like a week. I played Overwatch for like a week. I get into them. I get to the point where I kind of figure them out. I find a couple mains that I like to play as, but it never sucks me in and keeps me playing. I always end up kind of going back to Call of Duty inevitably. And I think a big part of it, Matt, for me has been that I haven't really played a hero shooter where I really liked the heroes until now with Marvel Rivals. The first thing I will say, and if you've read maybe a couple reviews on SIFTD for this game, is that they say, a lot of reviews dwell on the fact that it doesn't do anything new. And that is fair. The modes in this are the same modes you play in Overwatch. You're escorting this thing across the map while the other team tries to stop you. Or there's domination modes where you go and you take over a point, you try to hold the point, there's a succession of points, and there's like a team deathmatch variant. But otherwise, like, this game plays just like Overwatch, just like pretty much every other hero shooter.
I mean, I really didn't even play Overwatch that much, but when I watch footage of this game, I can tell which Overwatch character the character
mimicking.
Is playing like.
Yeah,
it's remarkably similar.
Here's the thing. I don't give a shit. because I love the characters in this game. I want to play as these characters. I want to learn these characters. The other thing, too, about this game is that they do, and you'll see here in a second, you do team-up attacks with other characters. And some of them don't always make sense. Like, for example, like you can team up the Punisher with like Groot and some of like the Guardians of the Galaxy characters.
No,
like
he was doing cosmic stuff for a while.
Oh, he was. Yeah. So it does make sense within the universe.
At one point, the Punisher was an undead cosmic entity and became the Ghost Rider.
Interesting.
A lot of weird shit happened in the last 20 years in comics.
I guess so. Here you're seeing the rundown of characters. There are 30 characters at launch. There's a few more that are going to come online a little bit later. But this is more than enough. Like, I've been playing this game.
It's an impressive roster.
It is. And I've been playing this game for a week. I really struggled to find any clones where they're just, like, reskinning a character. Like, every character really does feel unique. Right down to, like, not every character has the same number of attacks. Some characters will have 5, 6 attacks. Some may only have 3 or 4. Now, every character has an ultimate, and you pull off the ultimate just like you'd expect. You click both the sticks, and you pull it off. And the 30 fighters, to me, more than enough. But as you know, this is a game as a service. It's free to play. So a big part of it is adding new characters as time goes on that people want to pay for. But really, like, if you dive into the store for this game, you're not really paying for new characters. It doesn't look like it. It looks like you're just going to pay for outfits and new skins for those characters, which, again, is very much the way these games typically work. But my point is that Marvel Rivals isn't doing anything that's going to offend you beyond what you're already offended by. So here's one thing where it's like a MOBA. So you pick your character, but you don't actually have your character yet. Like once you pick it, you go to this other screen that loads up, and I'll just skip, and here it is. And you get there, and it's a race to pick the character. I really hate that, but this game does it just like a lot of MOBAs do. And then here's the screen that you go to where you select the team-ups. And let me go back to that screen as well so you can see how that works a little bit. I just got to inch it back a little bit. There it is. It's hard. Let's see, there it is. So here's a team-up. So you can see, look at who the Punisher teams up with. He teams up with Rocket Raccoon. Mm-hmm. And I guess Winter Soldier makes a little more sense. At least he's like also using a gun.
They're all gun nuts.
They're all gun nuts, yeah. They're gun guys. So you can team up with them, and like some of them are crazy. Like Groot and Rocket Raccoon team up, and like he gets on Groot's shoulders and shoots. And like some of the other characters, like if you team up with them and you set up your team up before the match starts, you'll get into the match and all of a sudden you'll wonder why your gun starts firing at like twice the rate, or why all of a sudden like you can one-shot enemies. And that's because some of your other teammates are using their team-up attacks to give you buffs, basically, so that you're more powerful, or in some cases maybe because you're more defensive or whatever, it gives you better defensive abilities. And again, if you're a Marvel fan, seeing these team-ups, a lot of them have happened inside the films or inside the comics, so they all make sense. Authenticity-wise, I think you can see that they chose specific character models. Like, for some of them, I'm like Iron Man, like the suit that they use in this. It's not my favorite Iron Man suit.
I hate the art style in this game.
Really?
Absolutely despise every single character design.
Really? Interesting.
I think they all look like complete shit.
Wow, I don't think that. I think some of them
Well, I mean, like, Jeff looks the same as you. Rocket and Jeff are just like a raccoon and a shark.
Yeah.
Whatever. But, like, all the Captain America, like, fuck that outfit.
Yeah.
And, like, I think some of that's intentional, like, because as you scroll through, like, the various costumes you can get or whatever, a lot of those look way better.
Yeah.
A lot of those look
the ones
like,
that you pay for.
They look, the ones you pay for. Like, it feels like they're trying to like be like, here's all the characters you love, looking the worst they've ever looked, but you can earn outfits you like for them,
or
like,
pay for them.
Or pay for them, yeah. Like, I mean, like Penny Parker's mech looks pretty much the same, but like the classic guys all look like shit.
Spider-Man, I think is fine.
Spider-Man's about the usual, but like there's I don't like the big bulky weirdo looking things on some, like Punisher looks awful. I could
hardly recognize him.
Awful.
There's a few.
Like,
Magneto is hard to recognize. Like some of them, they do go a little too far. And you're right. If you dig into the store, a lot of the outfits that you want for these characters are the ones that you paid for. But again, this game's
Wolverine's
free.
outfit is terrible.
Yeah.
Like the big jacket thing. I didn't even know who Iron Fist was when I saw him.
No, I agree.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, I've said it before. I didn't play this. I have no interest in playing this. Like, this is not the kind of game I care about. I don't care what IP you slap on it. You make a Transformers hero shooter, and I won't play that either.
Yeah.
Like, it's no interest, zero interest.
Yeah.
I have been following somewhat of the meta and some of the commentary online. I am very amused by the fact that the best character in the game is Iron Fist.
Is he?
He can basically, because of his auto-targeting and his mid-air attack, he can basically fly faster than Iron Man because he can chase you. There's footage of people like flying away as Iron Man to get away from him, and he's literally just flying behind them, like punching them until he kills them because he flies, auto targets, zooms in on you, and when he hits you, he heals.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Well, Doctor Strange is the first one that they nerfed.
Strange has got because he could get his ult out the gate by team killing everybody.
Yeah,
and
well, he
then,
also.
I think
like,
my first bet for a boost is going to be Magneto because everybody thinks he's too weak.
He's too weak.
Which for Magneto he is, which is weird because I watched Magneto footage. I'm like, oh my god, he's Zenyatta.
Yeah, there's
like,
some
what
weird things about this too.
Character.
Like Spider-Man is like a 5-star difficulty character in this, but he's the most popular Marvel character. Like that's dirty to me. Like I played as Spider-Man, I can't compete at all. I just get destroyed.
Yeah,
I want to play as Spider-Man.
I don't really mind that though because it makes one of the most important characters in the game viable in the long-term meta.
I get that, but I think that they should pick the more obscure characters to make them.
Well, guess what? It didn't matter.
Yeah,
like it's fine.
What's fine?
They got 10 million players. No one minds that Spider-Man's hard to play.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just in the honeymoon phase right now.
Right, but Spider-Man's still considered one of the best characters in the game.
Well, again, he's like one of the most difficult to play as, and I've really struggled to play as him, and I want to play as him, but I don't. I play as the Punisher a lot because I love turrets, and he can turn into a turret. And it just wrecks. Like, if I play as the Punisher, I finish every match with like 20, 25 kills and like 5 or 6 deaths.
There doesn't seem to be any bad character from what I've seen.
I have not played one where I felt like I couldn't do anything.
There's better characters, but doesn't seem to be an actual like dog of a character.
I wish Spider-Man was more user-friendly. I really want to use him without having to spend the rest of my life playing this game.
Well, like, too bad. That's what these games are.
That's
one of the reasons I don't want to play them.
So the Punisher is 1-star difficulty. He's very easy to play as. He's guns. Like...
But that embodies the Punisher as who the character is. Spider-Man as a character and how he's portrayed in all of his media and all his comics and everything would be a very hard character to be.
Yeah,
like, if you dropped yourself into Spider-Man, it would be very hard to fight the way Spider-Man does because it's so based around his particular power set, who he is, how he does what he does, and what he can do, and the fact that he's actually one of the most experienced heroes in the Marvel Universe, and nobody gives him credit for that.
I just know most people who boot up this game are going to want to play as Spider-Man more than any other character. And most people are going to play as Spider-Man after in a match or two are going to not want to play with him ever again.
Oh, well.
Because he just get destroyed.
Well, then they'll find somebody else or they'll learn how to do it.
I'm just saying, like, to make the game successful, it might have been smarter to make the characters that people like more accessible.
But I'm saying the game is successful and it didn't matter.
Is it, though? It's only been a week.
They got 10 million players.
Yeah, but we've seen this before. Even, like, the first Descendant was, like, huge, and then a week later, nobody's there. So we don't know yet.
I don't think Spider-Man being tough to use is going to be the deciding factor.
No, but it's just one thing that adds up over the course of playing the game. Like, there's only 6 maps in the game. Well, that's annoying. They get old pretty quickly. Like, there's other problems.
How many maps did Overwatch have?
I don't remember. At launch, I have no idea. I know now it has like 20 or whatever, but back when it first launched, I don't remember how many it had.
I didn't play Overwatch that much. I watched my girlfriend play it, but like, I'll be honest, I could never really tell the difference between any of the maps.
Oh, really?
Because they were all the same.
You can in this though, because
I can tell the difference now because I know Marvel stuff. I don't know if I know that this. I don't know if I know this was the Clintar.
You may not know what it is, but looking at the maps, they're all very distinct. Like, you can tell whether you're playing on one map or another. You may not know that it's, like, a specific character's map or not, but you can definitely tell that it's different than the one that you played on last time. Like, they stand out visually. Like,
is it the same objective every time?
There's 3 different modes, as I said. Yeah. So there's like the Overwatch mode where you escort some moving thing slowly across the map. But
that mode changes based on the map or changes based on the
mode? It does change on the map. So the object that goes through the map changes depending on the map. Like, it's this weird, like, almost like slug thing for Spawn's map that, like, just kind of sludges across the map. Yeah. Or not Spawn.
Venom?
Venom's, yeah.
This is Null. This is... If you'd seen Venom 3, you would know Null is the king of all symbiotes and the origin of all symbiotes, the King in Black, and this is his thing. There's symbiotes everywhere now.
Gotcha.
There was a year of symbiote shit.
Gotcha.
That this is well based.
I would like to see more maps. To your point, Matt, though, you're right. This is the first entry in this franchise. Maybe I'm asking for a little bit too much for it on launch day, but I did get tired of the maps pretty quickly. This has crossplay with PC.
Doesn't that cross progression yet?
Not yet. Yeah. Just cross play. But I think cross progression is something that's coming. Competitive or ranked play doesn't unlock until level 10, so it takes you a little while playing, and that's smart before you jump in and play with the Sharks. There are tournaments. There's a season option. You can purchase the luxury battle pass if you want to, and just pay the money to unlock all the stuff that you'd have to play to unlock otherwise. There's this whole other system called like Entangled Moments. It's like this series of objectives that you complete. There's always these lists of objectives that you're completing underneath the hood. When you finish the match, you're like, wow, I crossed off like 20 of those with one match. Because a lot of them are like, get 5 assist kills, get 5 kills or whatever, and you don't even realize how they're adding up throughout the course of a match.
Overwatch launched with 6 maps.
Well, there you go. It's exactly the same then. So I guess it's just par for the course as far as that's concerned. Most of the characters have their abilities mapped to the shoulder buttons. Most characters have a jump that, if you're playing on PlayStation, is mapped to the X. And as I said, you click both the sticks to perform your ultimate. And every character really does play differently. Like, I never played 2 where I was like, this is kind of like the other one, but just with a different skin. Like, I definitely felt like everyone is different, and particularly like Jeff the Land Shark, which is like this annoying support character that swims underneath the surface. And when he swims underneath the surface, he rebuilds his health. So once I started figuring him out, like, I hardly ever died. And you can just go around and drop health bubbles and just, like, keep helping your team. And
someone finally learned a lesson from Splatoon.
Yeah, it is like a Splatoon character, absolutely. And there's characters like that in this.
His ult is one of the big memes.
Yeah, people are kind of hating Jeff the Land Shark.
Well, the thing is, like, he's not actually that easy to do that with.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of footage of people, because he can gobble up people and spit them out, and so the idea is to gobble enemies up and spit them off the map.
Off the map, yeah.
And I've seen a bunch of footage, a bunch of clips of him doing it with all 6 teams. It's like, well, then don't fucking stand together, you idiots! Like,
that would be awesome, actually. Let's see.
I am impressed by the roster in the sense that, like, they went some deep cuts. They went the main guys. They went some in between. Like, it's like you got Spider-Man, you got Wolverine, sure, but you got Jeff, and you got Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Like, for the game of God, you put Cloak and Dagger in a
What's
game.
the one got Moon Knight or whatever?
Moon Knight is pretty hot right now.
But see, to me, those are the characters that should be like the 5-star difficulty characters. They're kind of cool, but like they're not mainstream. So
then they never get played because they're not.
Well, it depends on how. Some people just like to play as that character because of their abilities or whatever.
Somewhat, but I think it's better to put them. I think you shouldn't choose the difficulty of the character based on the popularity of the character. You choose the difficulty of the character based on how you make that character play to match the character.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. The store, which is important for a free-to-play game, is broken up into groups. Like, you can buy, like, a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 combo bundle where you get a bunch of different skins for all those characters. So if you're a big fan of that IP, you can just kit out all your characters with one purchase. I think they've done a pretty good job of laying out the store, and I think the prices seem pretty fair. I never felt compelled to spend any money in this, other than the fact that, like, Iron Man, I hate Iron Man's suit.
Oh, and who's the ice girl? Luna something or whatever.
I don't remember.
I mean, like, I had to look her up. Like, she's the only character in this game that I didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
So if you got a character in a game a Marvel character that I don't recognize,
that's
like,
you
are deep cutting that shit.
Sure.
It's because she's more recent. I'm not super caught up on the comics. I didn't know who she was. But.
Yeah. But you've been watching the B-roll, and whether you're like Matt and you don't like the art design of the characters or whatever, regardless, like, it runs really well, and it does look really good. I mean, things get chaotic at times, like crazy chaotic. I've never seen the game slow down. It just is pegged at like 60
Luna
frames.
Snow. She's from one of the mobile games.
Luna Snow.
Okay.
Yeah. So it runs great. I think it looks great. Again, your opinion of the art will vary depending on your perspective. In certain characters, like, I don't like Iron Man's suit in this. It makes him look like an NFL player. Like, he looks way too
the big bulky thing. I mean, I think the women look okay. The bulky dudes look really silly to me.
Yeah.
And that's also, I don't like that suit also because it's just too much red.
Yep.
It's just a solid red on it. Like, you need some gold on your butt there, asshole.
Yeah, I mean, there are characters like that, but you can see right there.
There's 1,000 better Iron Man suits than that.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I know I think that's based on his nanotech suit from Endgame. And I get it, but, like, yeah, I would instantly be trying to be buying the Silver Centurion or the Extremis suit or something immediately.
And you see in some of the B-roll that there's destructible environments, and there's like environments that build on the fly, and you can destroy those, and there's some decent strategy built around that as well. Like a lot of times, like when you get to the points where whatever you're following across the map will stop, that tends to be where a lot of the destructible environments are, because you're going to get in a little war there, basically, fighting over it, trying to budget to the next checkpoint or whatever. So I think generally this is a pretty smartly designed game that plays really well, that won't offend Marvel fans. And so for me personally, this is my hero shooter that I'm going to keep playing in perpetuity. I've tried 10 of them, 12 of them at this point. This is the one that's resonated with me the most because it's the game that I care about the characters the most. And I'm all about playing some more obscure Marvel characters and getting to know them and finding one that maybe people don't play that much that I can get good with. Because again, like I feel like every character in this truly does play completely different from all the others. Even like the aerial characters, they're all different. I feel like they've done a great job with this game. And so far, at least in the first week I've played it, it is my favorite hero shooter that I've played. And again,
I'm sure it would be mine too if I felt the need to have a hero shooter.
Right. Yeah.
But just like just watching his footage is just like, wow, it sure is not a thing I ever care about or want to do. Like there's nothing about this genre that appeals to me. I'm impressed by how well they've done replicating all these characters, and just watching them, I can tell like they play like themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's, they're recognizably themselves in terms of what they can do, which is pretty surprising in terms of like getting it all to work together as a functional game, and B, the fact that they did it with 30 of the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like they could not have done more, I don't think.
Yeah. They've really knocked it out of the park. Matt, would you be open to playing like a Secret Wars style game, or a game that had things like in an end game with big battles with?
What do you mean?
Just where instead of it, I don't know, like a big like superhero battle royale, like
I don't want to play multiplayer.
Yeah.
I don't care about multiplayer.
You don't want to play with other people no matter what.
I don't give a shit. I don't want to rely on other people. I don't want to have to deal with other people. I don't want to. The only thing I would play that has online functionality like that would be a fighting game.
Yeah.
I have no interest in going through all this and losing because people are being dumb shits. I have no interest in dealing with assholes online. That phase of my life is over.
I'll say this, and this is anecdotal, obviously, but I feel like the community for this game is pretty good, man.
But also I don't care. I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. And like, match is done, open a bunch of bars up. Now I got to do the same fucking thing again. That's boring to me. Like I want to make.
Well, you just switch characters and start playing. But
I'm still just playing a versus match in the same old thing. Like I don't care about multiplayer shit. I don't care whether I'm better at something than anyone else in anything other than a fighting game. I don't care.
Why do you think you feel that way about fighting games but nothing else?
Because I grew up playing them, and because they're a more interesting competitive thing to me. Like, very little about why you win or lose a fighting game is related to some kind of tech issue or online issue or like your team or whatever. It's one person versus one person, and it's just who's better at the game.
Yeah.
I
grew up playing team sports, so I like relying on people. I like when everybody comes together and does something amazing.
Yeah, I recognize that. I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's not good enough to make me waste my time or my lifespan playing things like this.
Yeah. Well, the good news is this game is completely free. So there's really and it's not even that big. I think the client was like 30 gigs or something like that, maybe. So it's not like it's a big commitment even to download the game. It is available for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, and I think they've done a pretty good job with the monetization. Like, pretty much the only things that you're going to pay for here are cosmetics. I think they've even gone on the record saying that they'll never charge you for characters in this. We'll see if it stands up, but that's what they're saying right now. We'll see.
There's an argument to be made that, like, the character isn't complete until you have an outfit you like for them.
Yeah. Particularly for something like this, I would argue.
And that's one of the. I mean, that's basically what Marvel Heroes did back in the day.
And you can spend a couple bucks and get an outfit and get the one that you want for the most part. Like, I feel like they do a good job pricing that stuff. I looked at their store like pretty thoroughly, and nothing ever stood out where I was like, oh, they're trying to get you. Like, so.
No, I mean, it just depends everyone's got their own preferences for what character's favorite costume or whatever.
Yeah.
Like whatever, if you like Storm, and like Storm would probably be a character I would
Storm's
play.
a fun character in this. Her ultimate is a crazy tornado that goes down and tears shit up.
If you look at the outfits they have for her, like whatever version of Storm you like, you can find something pretty close to it in there. So.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like there was like 4 or 5 costumes for each character.
It's definitely way better outfit choices than Avengers had.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. So I had a lot of fun with this. And as you guys know, if you've been watching GameFace for a long time, I like shooters. I like first-person shooters. I like hero shooters for the most part. And so, obviously, I'm over the hump of the genre there.
€25 for the Iron Man MCU skin?
Whoa, I didn't see that.
No, thank you.
That's insane. I missed that, actually. I didn't see that in there. Is that already in the store? Because I looked through the store, I didn't see anything priced that high.
I don't know.
Or maybe it's coming and people just know. Draylock says 47 gigs on Steam. Yeah, I played it on PS5, as you can probably tell from the B-roll. What would I like to see added? More maps, for sure. Because obviously, I love all these characters. I want to fight in maps that are designed for those characters.
They need more X-Men.
That'd be a good addition, too. And obviously, just more characters
the thing that would probably come the closest to getting me to try it is Cyclops.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't play her, but I would like to see, because I don't like playing as tanks, but like, tanks are always the big, bulky, blah, 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 blah. I would love to see them put Rogue in as a tank. Because you got to put Rogue and Gambit in at some point.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Rogue.
She's almost invincible.
Yeah, because she's a tank. She's absolutely a tank. Yeah. But she's not like a big, bulky monster. Yes. She's like, you'd have to come up with other ways to make her do that and be that obstacle.
Yeah,
which I think would
have to be creative for sure.
An interesting challenge, and so far they seem to kind of be up for that.
Yeah,
so I'd be interested to see what that would be. Is Captain Marvel in the game?
No.
They should put her in.
I mean, there's tons of characters still to come, for sure. Like, they have tons of... I mean, just the fact that they have a character in this game that Matt Keil did not know, that's pretty amazing.
You're pulling from a mobile game. I'm not going to...
Yeah, but I think what it shows is, like, they're not going to just keep pulling in who's the next most popular guy who isn't in the game yet. Like,
no, they're going to pick whoever I think they would make an interesting gameplay.
And I think that's great. Like, I think they're taking...
Yeah, that's the right way to do it.
They're taking the right approach with this game, I think. So I had a lot of fun with it, and it's free to play, free to download. I never felt compelled to pay for anything. I never felt like I was behind the 8 ball competitively because I didn't pay for anything.
I mean, I'd be compelled to pay for something so I didn't have to look at those ugly costumes
anymore. Right. Just, I get the aesthetic side of it.
Like, I don't know if anything you put Iron Man in is going to do anything about those shoulders.
No. I wonder if the outfits will change that, though.
I wouldn't think so. I think that's part of this, like part of the silhouette of the character is part of how you ID them.
You're right.
So I don't think that would
and that matters. As you saw, it gets chaotic at times in this game. Like, just crap just going off everywhere. And it never slows down. Like, it is pretty impressive, I'll say. Faradol says Luna Snow is also in Fortnite, if I remember correctly. Minority Game says Gambit. Yeah, I mean, there's just tons that could be added to this. So it's really, if it doesn't start dropping players, like, the sky's the limit with this game. It could go on for a really, really long time. And there's still tons of, like, high-profile Marvel characters to add to it. So far, I think they've done a great job. But I think with these games, where the rubber hits the road is after, like, a month. Where, like, all the hardcore Marvel fans have played it. They figured out whether they're going to stick with it or not. And you've lost, like, 40% of your audience. And you have that inflection point of, like...
There's a lot of people trying... I mean, Overwatch's player count dropped by, like, some crazy number.
Oh, really?
When this went... I mean, like, it was over the weekend. It was down, like, a third or something.
I'll never play Overwatch again now that this game's out there. I just won't. Like, if they come out with Overwatch 3, I'll play it to evaluate it for the show, but not on my own compunction. I wouldn't. Like... I'm going to stick with Marvel Rivals. This is my hero shooter now, which mission accomplished, I guess, really. So high quality product, great craftsmanship, well balanced, handled the IP, plural, great. I really struggle to find a lot to complain about with Marvel Rivals. I've been really impressed with it. So they did a great job, and hopefully they can maintain it. Again, I think in a month or so, that's where the inflection point hits, and we'll see if they can maintain the momentum and keep people engaged.
It's interesting to see that, like, for all the talk of, oh my God, there's no that people aren't doing anything or playing anything or buying it. This game got 10 million users.
Yeah.
Infinity Nikki got 10 million users. Path of Exile 2 is the 4th most played game on Steam history.
Yeah.
Like, the people are out there.
I think we're going to try to slide Path of Exile 2 into next week's show. It'll be like the only game that we talk about.
People are out there. You just got to...
Yeah, you got to find them. You got to make a product that they like and they resonate with. And I think they've done it here. So, but again, we'll see in a month's time if people are still sticking around. Okay, we have one more topic in today's show. We're going to review Infinity Nikki. But before we do that, here is the final installment in our sponsorship for the Lands of Hyberian. Welcome to the Lands of Hyberian, an old-school turn-based RPG with a point-and-click adventure vibe. It's under development by Sifter Hussein Stealthy Zaban. He's trying to finish his first ever video game, but he needs your help. The game currently includes around 4 hours of content, complete with 49 achievements, but his goal is to improve what he's already created and add another 2 hours before it's complete. Right now, as part of this special promotion, you can purchase this game for just $1.
That goes towards things like trading cards, replacing AI art, voice acting, and the soundtrack. While it's certainly not required, Stealthy is hoping you'll provide as much feedback as possible to make this the first video game truly crafted by the Sifted community. There's work to be done, but Sifted Army, let's band together and try to make the best game possible. It's in Steam Early Access right now, and you can find a link to its product page in the description below, or just search for The Lands of Hyberian on Steam. Let's do this!
So this is it. Our contract just ran out with this episode for Lands of Hyberian. I want to thank Sifter Stealthy for sponsoring GameFace for as long as he did with this game. This is my last chance to convince you to get involved with the Lands of Hyberian. So go to Steam, search for the Lands of Hyberian, Hyberion, and pay $1. Get the game, join the community there, start working with Stealthy to finish the game. I say this every week, but I'm just trying to beat it into your head that if you've ever wanted to develop games and try it out, this is your chance. You're probably never going to find another chance to do it unless you start a game yourself and then you're the one trying to get me to get people to help you on your game. This is it. This is your chance to dip your toe into game development and figure out whether it's something that you're interested in. People, like I said earlier in the show, my mom found out this week that my job isn't this glamorous, just play video games and show up and talk about them for a couple hours every week thing. You'll find out as well that game development is not what people think it is. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of coordination with other people. You will learn all that working with Stealthy on the Lands of Hyberian. So again, go to Steam, search for the Lands of Hyberian, pay $1 for the game, get involved with the community there, and I cannot wait, hopefully next year, for Stealthy to contact me and be like, we did it. We finished this game. So please do it. And Stealthy, thank you, brother, for your sponsorship. It makes a big difference to us. We really appreciate it. And as you know, now we have another opening for sponsorship here on GameFace. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, send us an email to sponsorships@sifted.net. Stealthy, you're awesome, man. Thank you. I hope this has worked out great for you as far as getting people involved and helping you on your game. I've heard a lot of behind-the-scenes anecdotes about you guys getting involved with him from him, and he's been kind of blown away by the response and you guys helping him with his game. So it makes me feel good inside right around the holidays to hear all this stuff, but they still got to get across the finish line, so help them out if you can. Go check out the Lands of Hyberian. And with that, we're ready for the last topic of GameFace 415. We're going to review Infinity Nikki, another free-to-play game, although entirely different from Marvel Rivals. And in fact, in some ways, Matt, this game kind of defies description. This is the game that I wish I had more time to play. I've only played maybe 2 hours of this game, really just enough to get B-roll. Matt had told me that he had been playing it, so with my mom around, I'm glad that he got to spend a little bit more time with it than I did.
Although not a ton, because it's very hard for me to play because there's no way to invert Y.
No.
There are no options to change controls, remap buttons, keyboard control, anything on this game. It's bizarre.
This game is very much a mobile game.
They
feels like
they put a patch up yesterday that added ray tracing, but they still haven't added the ability to change your fucking buttons.
That's pretty bizarre. But this game very much feels like a mobile gacha game, but it's really not.
It's more of a Genshin.
I really struggle to understand where people would spend money on this.
Outfits.
But there's so many already.
Yeah, but to get them, you have to get them from basically random loot chests. In terms of all the outfits are locked behind tons of random grinding.
Yeah,
and so it's much faster. Insane. It's much faster to just basically spend money for the gems that let you do the gacha chests and get stuff out of them.
Interesting.
That's all. The outfits you need to do the various abilities in the game, like fishing or taming grooming animals, double jumping, attacking. You get all those automatically. They're in a skill tree in the main game that you unlock with with these stars you collect. These whim
stars. Yeah. There's a weird term for everything in this game.
So that's you're not gonna have to pay money to be able to get around in the game. But if you want specific outfits, you're gonna need to do the mobile game shit.
Okay. Well, the basic plot of this is that Nikki is getting ready for her graduation ball. She goes up into the attic of her mom's house. She finds this mysterious dress called the the threads of reunion.
Yes.
And then it's inside like a magical chest of drawers that sucks her into this other world called Miraland.
The Reset Era thread is called The Tryon, The Wish, and The Wardrobe.
Oh, that's very clever, actually.
Very good title.
Yeah, that is. Absolutely. So anyway, she gets sucked into this other world, and she meets this goddess there with an eye patch who basically tasks her with returning, or to collect all the outfits and save the land, basically, of Miraland. And you get sent out into this open world where there's a town there. And you just start taking on quests on the fly. I guess I would call it an action RPG.
Yeah, it's an action RPG.
But the combat is such a formality.
It's a cozy game action RPG.
Yeah, I hate that term.
It's
but...
not. Yeah, I'm well aware. You say it every time I say it, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
Go
low stress.
Go yell at Stardew Valley if
right.
you don't like it. That's where that started.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just run around and do things.
So you get outfits, and the outfits give her abilities, basically. And so it's a little bit like Metroid. They give you this little period where you have all her abilities, and then they take them away, and you slowly have to gain them all back. And you get those all back by finding new schematics for dresses, and then having the items that you need to craft those dresses, then craft the dress, and then you have the ability that will open up a new area of the map, or give her abilities to explore new areas of the map that you couldn't reach before. And that's kind of the basic premise, the design of the game. But then you start getting into like all the gotcha stuff. And I only played this for like an hour or two. I felt completely overwhelmed by this game with all the verbiage that it uses to describe all the different stuff that you're like, all the meters that you're trying to fill. Like, it just became insane after a while. Like, there's Whim Stars, there's Infinity Shards, there's like 5 or 6 different things. Resonite crystals.
Okay, well, I played the game for probably 6 or 7 hours. I don't even know what those last 2 things are.
Really?
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
So I don't know what any. I mean, most of it doesn't matter. You need to know bling, which is the general currency in the world, like to buy stuff.
Yeah.
You need to know the Whim Stars because that's how you get your upgrades. You need to know every time you do something, whether it be combat or collecting things or fishing or whatever, you get some kind of, I don't know, a consciousness of it or something. It's basically experience that only applies to that particular activity, and you have to cash that in to upgrade that ability in the skill tree. And there's a bunch of parts of the skill tree that are not open in this version. Like, they literally say not available in this version.
What the heck?
Because they're clearly going to expand this and add, just like Genshin Impact, they're going to add more areas, they're going to add more lands.
Oh, you don't mean like the PC version. You mean like version 1.2 or whatever.
There's some translation questionables
here
and there. But like that's what that means is like the game it's kind of early accessy.
Yeah.
Like but there's plenty, and you're not going to finish this in any time soon. There's tons of stuff to do.
A lot of Breath of the Wild developers worked on this.
Yes, there's a lot of Breath of the Wild.
You can see it here and there, for sure.
Yeah, and like I do think it's actually more fun to play than Genshin Impact for the most part. I thought Genshin Impact kind of fell flat in a lot of places for me, and does require you to be more involved in a lot of the weird side stuff. Like this game, as soon as you need to craft an outfit or figure, it will just walk you through that and get you there. Yeah. And if you want to engage with all the, I think I do have an advantage here to some degree because I did play Genshin Impact. So I like the weird radial menus and the strange way that you navigate things is pretty similar. Like all these games seem to have a pretty similar
interface,
interface.
Yeah.
So it's not that shocking to me, but like if you've never done this before, you might be like, what are all these fucking symbols?
That's how I felt. I felt overwhelmed by all that stuff. I was
you just got to ignore it and play the game.
Yeah.
Like if you need it, you'll be guided.
You'll stumble across it.
Yeah.
It's like you have your little sidekick named Momo, and like I totally forgot. Like he will like show you hidden things, but like after a while, I forgot like what the command was to like for him to show the hidden thing.
Conveniently, when he's near, his face jumps up and down with a little D-pad up thing in the corner.
Well, then I realized that like they'll put that up there if there's one nearby. But for a while, I was like, okay, well I want to turn this guy on while I'm adventuring around, but you can't. Like once you turn him on, you can't move. Like. There's just little kind of contrivances like that you figure out after you play it for a while and you end up working around.
Well, they literally tell you that's how it works.
Yeah.
So it's you can't jump through a lot of the tutorial stuff too quick because like it is actually trying to teach you mechanics you're going to use constantly.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did learn from Genshin Impact is don't just skim through this and because then the only other way to find out is it's gonna be buried in some menu somewhere.
Or try to Google it. It's hard to find stuff for games like this on Google. Like if you Google things for these games, like I think a lot of it has to do with how things are written for these games. Like they're just the language that they use around them is like uses words that you don't normally use. And if you don't use a very specific term, you're not going to find exactly what you're looking for. So your point, yes, like you should pay attention to the tutorials in this. The tutorials in this though lulled me to sleep because they're just like, hey, here's how you jump. Now here's the double jump. And so it's just so rudimentary that like after a while I was like, okay, this is like teaching me.
Right, but that's
basics.
the first 5 minutes.
Right, and I should have kept paying closer attention, and I did not. Yeah. But as far as like combat, like you're calling this a cozy game, yeah. Like I don't. Maybe you played it longer. Does combat ever get more involved? It's like for me, I just tap circle and the enemies disappear.
No, I mean you fight more and more of them. Like I think the most enemies I've fought at once has been like 15.
Okay.
I've never taken more than one hit in a fight.
Yeah.
And I've lost more life to falling in water.
And this has rebounding health as well.
Yeah, and honestly, the most challenging stuff in this game is platforming. Like getting up to high places to gather stars or objects or whatever, rare components or whatever. Like there's some legit platform, and like it's harder for me because I can't invert the Y, so like trying to control the camera is doubly difficult for me.
Yeah.
If they ever put that in there, then it'll probably be a lot better to me. But currently I'm just like, why can't I see? Oh, because I keep moving the camera the other wrong way.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest challenge so far. But yeah, otherwise you're just sort of running around, picking up side quests and doing whatever they want you to do. And there's a main storyline. They kind of introduce you to all the game concepts. Like you get to the part where you have to do fashion shows to win the approval of these factions.
Oh, really?
And they all have relationships with each other, and then you get inclusive stuff for that. And like,
what do the factions do?
They're just like story-wise, they're just a bunch of rival stylists because those are basically instead of like wizards, they're stylists in this game.
Yeah.
And so there's like the Ebony Scissors are like basically the Team Rocket and they're all very, very smartly dressed guys in suits that are sort of Yakuza-ish. And they all say stuff like, the Ebony Scissors will cut through all the fabric. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to punch you now. Like, but the way you compete with them is you have to have like a fashion show with them. And they'll say, okay, the goal for this is to be the cool, to dress the stylishly cool. And so you have to put on your outfit, your coolest outfit. And all the clothing is rated across like 5 or 6 different. There's like
each outfit has like 6 pieces. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, not the pieces. If you look at the stats, they have like 5 or 6 different qualities.
Right.
There's sweet and cute and sexy and fresh.
Yeah.
And something else, I think.
Yeah.
And none of it makes any sense. Like
the sexy outfits aren't sexy.
No, and they're all sweet, cute, and fresh are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like, there's like outfits they sell in the store that are like limited time things, and there's one where she's like in like it's almost like a Chinese dragon lady. It's like a slit leg, like with a Chinese dragon. It's all like black silk and very fancy.
Yeah.
And the sexy rating on it is like 281. And down below it it's called First Love, and it's like this weird little like Raggedy Ann looking like jumper overalls plaid thing. Like it looks like something like a child would wear.
Yeah.
That thing's sexy rating is 1,381. And I'm like, I think all of you need to have a seat over here. And we're going to have a discussion about what you are rating but like, so basically for the first thing you have to wear the coolest thing. So conveniently, the most recent, if you're following the main quest, the most recent outfit you've crafted is the fishing outfit.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the fishing outfit with its waders, overalls, fish belt, and weird beret is the coolest outfit you have by a wide margin. And so you put that on, and you can put one extra accessory on it when you're in your Eureka accessory. It's like a special bling thing you have. In this case, it was like spinning stars over my hands. And that like maxes out the thing, and the guy's like, "Oh my god, she's so cool!" And like you get all the reward. But every character, you have to go through all the underlings of each faction that all want you to dress a different way and beat them, and then you get it's almost like Assassin's Creed. You get information on where the leader of the faction is, and then you have to figure out what the faction leader wants you to dress as, and so you can have that outfit ready to go in and outfit off against them and win by having a higher rating for your outfit.
The only skeevy thing that I found with this, as far as like paying, was like how each outfit is like 6 pieces, and you can't.
It takes a long time to piece an outfit together from the gotcha stuff.
Yeah,
the other
and
thing
they want to make it annoying.
The other thing
so
I will
you
say,
pay for it.
what you need to do is you need to go to IGN or Google like IGN's Infinity Nikki codes. They have every code that you can put in on the game. And you go to in the settings, you go under like there's a place under settings and options to enter a code. Put all those codes in, and you will have more in-game currency than you will ever
really
need. Like tens and tens of thousands. I have like 500,000 bling.
Wow!
And you can use all these codes. Some of them are in Chinese, and so I can't type that, so I just copy pasted them from a web browser into the game by alt tabbing in and out.
Yeah.
You get tons and tons and tons of stuff. They are it's like there's like 25 codes. Like,
wow!
And like like a special birthday.
Pro tip.
Special birthday outfit for the launch. There's a bunch of extra things. There's a bunch of it's tons and tons of stuff.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that. In matter of fact, when I first put them in, like I couldn't even look at most of them because it hadn't unlocked the ability to look through my inventory yet.
Wow. I'll just say I will probably not continue playing this, but I would say that I enjoyed it more than I thought. And I don't think it's a game just for girls.
No, it's very different. It's like I think it's fun. I will keep playing it.
You will?
Not like rabidly, you know, but it's again also great podcast game.
Yeah.
Like really easy to just run around and like jump around and collect stuff and talk to people and listen to whatever you're listening to.
Yeah.
And it's
a mellow game, as you said, a cozy game for sure. But you can see here, like you get a tablet like you do in Breath of the Wild. It's called the Pear something.
Pear Pal.
Yeah, Pear Pal.
Which I assume is an Apple joke.
Yeah, and you saw there's like 15 different options on that tablet. Like, there's just a lot.
Oh, there's a second page.
Yeah,
there's
you start
more.
digging into this stuff. There's a lot in this game, but I guess to Matt's point, like, you don't need a lot of it. But you start digging into these menus, and I'm like, what in the hell is even going on? Look at this crap.
Yeah, this is all this is all mobile game shit.
Yeah, it really is. It feels like a mobile game. And when you sign up, it feels like a mobile game. Like the initial screens when you create your character, you can tell.
Elegant, that's the one I was forgetting about.
Yeah, you can tell that it started as a mobile game. And Infinite Nikki has only been a mobile game until now. It's like her big crossover to consoles.
This is the 4th Nikki game.
Yeah, and they've all been mobile dress-up games, basically. Yeah, and this is more action-oriented and...
Yeah, like a couple people I know these games, and when I told them that like an action RPG had come out, they're like, "What the fuck? Is it a console game?" We're like, "Okay,
there's
shocked.
combat."
Because I sent a picture to one of them who like, because I thought it was funny that you found like these murals early on in the tutorial that are like, you know. It was like the 8 stylists of legend went out. I mean, it's like a bunch of hairdressers went out to have an RPG adventure or something. And I took a picture of it. I was like, yes, the stylists of legend.
But if you've been watching this B-roll, you just watch screen after screen after screen of meters and
these are all little
challenges,
like, mini quests, and they'll all give you this kind of currency you can spend for other things. Like
the rabbit hole goes deep. Let's put it to you that way. I felt overwhelmed by this game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the trick is that you just don't need it until you need it.
Yeah.
And like if you see a dot on something, go in and see if you can figure out like where if you can't find it, there's usually something like at the bottom of this screen that you just pressed was like hold X to claim all.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about navigating through everything.
Nightwing 3060, is it single player or multiplayer? It's single player.
Single. You can have a friends list with real people that you can. I think
friend codes, by the way, straight out of Nintendo.
you can. I think you can send each other stuff or what. I haven't really messed with that. But yeah, it is a single player RPG. You know, it's not like Genshin Impact where people are running around.
Yeah. Vincent says apparently in Nikki's world, if you actually try to hurt anyone, you get hurt yourself. So they solve all their problems with fashion now. But when you're fighting enemies, you're not killing the enemies, you're purifying them.
And they talk about constantly about purify. I'm like, this really feels like some kind of weird like euphemism for like genocide.
Right.
Like, they're killing these, and a lot of the enemies are like plaid and like gingham, and I'm like, I feel like there's like a class war going on here. It's like you're up against like people that aren't as good at crafts or something. Yeah. It's like that's like just a bag, and like you like the fishing you're pulling out like a normal little fish, but then like one of the special fish you can pull up is literally a purse. It's a handbag, but it's also a fish. There's a fish shaped like a handbag with a handle and everything. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this anymore. Like this is very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: there's no other game like this. There just isn't. Like, this is one of a kind. Like,
well, except the other 3, I guess.
Right, but I think the other 3 games aren't like this.
They aren't this involved. They're more like style savvy.
Yeah, they're just like fun dress-up games, basically. This actually has some action and some platforming and some puzzle solving and stuff like that. So,
and like a lot of full voice acting and a lot of like the production values on this are
it's amazing.
Through the roof.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like, you can tell that some talented people who worked on Breath of the Wild worked on this game for sure.
Like, you turn the ray tracing on this, and you're just like, and the sunset. I'm like, man, this is a good-looking game.
It's pretty, yeah. There's definitely some moments in it. I mean, look at the town. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty crazy, honestly, that they dedicated this many resources.
The map's big, and there's a bunch of other places. There's like 5 other areas that like you can go to, and like they're adding more later, and
it's all paying off. They have 10 million people playing this game already. Like, I kind of knew that was going to happen. You could see it. Like, I could see it on SIFTD. People were watching this stuff. I never thought that would happen. But yeah, people are into it. It's very unique, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to find new games in 2024. And now we're headed into 2025. Like, everything feels like it's very safe and like a sequel.
And this is another good example of like, you will never get this from EA.
No,
because EA would never let any small team make a weird little mobile game about dressing somebody up.
Right, that could inspire something like this.
That would inspire this and get to this, and even then you'd just be like, okay, like they would focus test this to hell and back and make sure that it wasn't just appealing to quote unquote girls, and they would ruin it.
Yeah,
like for all you can, for all people like kind of mock the Chinese like kind of like gotcha mill grind sort of thing. They every once in a while they crank out a winner.
Yeah,
and this is a winner.
Yes, I played even a couple hours that I played is more than I would ever thought I would play it.
If it let me invert Y, I would add a full point to my theoretical score to it, but it does not.
Yeah,
it doesn't even let you change your buttons on the keyboard and mouse.
Yeah,
and the controller thing has an option. It says default, and then it has an arrow that it looks like it should take you to another option. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no other option. It just says default, and if you click on it, it just shows you the controller with the buttons labeled, and you can't remap any of them. And I'm like, I don't know what this is for. It just feels like you're making fun of me now.
But I had fun while I played it. I don't think I'll go back and play more of it. I kind of got everything out of it that I needed to. These aren't really my forte. These aren't the kind of games that I really like to play, but I respect it, and I do like that it's a new concept and a new idea, and we need more of that in the industry. So... Cinetike says, how in the heck are inverted Y controls such a niche after 30 plus years?
I don't know. I mean,
it really is crazy.
The year of our Lord 2024, and I can't invert Y, and I can't remap the keyboard controls. I don't know what fucking planet this game came from. But...
Yeah.
And then they put up this big old update. I'm like, surely the invert Y update is in the... No, it's just ray tracing.
Yeah.
Like, you put ray tracing in before you put the fucking invert Y. Like, that should just be an I fix. Are you kidding?
It should be.
I'm looking through trying to figure out if there's like a way I can like kind of change the settings on the controller to do it. And it's like you can reset it through the Xbox app to like be universally uninverted, but then you'd have to switch it back every time you stop playing the game. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to relearn how I can... I'll just deal with it until they fix it. And maybe they won't fix it. I don't know.
Well, that's an episode of GameFace with 3 great games in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time. So
no losers in there.
Yeah, the year is finishing pretty strong, I feel like. Stronger than I thought. Like, looking... Like, if you talked to me 4 months ago, I'd have been like, man, November, December...
And Path of Exile 2 on top of that.
Right, and we'll talk about that on Monday in our last episode.
And then today we got Rita's Revenge,
which has also been reviewing Sky High.
And we got Soul Reaver.
Right, yeah. 1 and 2 remakes, remasters, yep. So anyway, there you go. That's Infinity Nikki. I mean, that's an enthusiastic thumbs up from Matt. Yeah. And less enthusiastic from me, but still a thumbs up from me. I was pleasantly surprised by this game and surprised that I enjoyed playing it despite what I think a lot of people would say, looking at it on the outside, is it was a game designed for girls. But it's really not. Like, it stars a girl who puts on outfits, but that's kind of the extent of it, I think. I think the rest of the game is made for just about anyone. Let's see, anything else? Dreylox, what's the best comparison for this combat? I might recommend it to a cousin. Whatever game that has no combat.
Yeah, press button, kill, win.
I mean, you saw in the B-roll, I literally just tap C, it hits the enemy, and they dissolve.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, honestly, like the original Lego Star Wars.
Yeah. So if your friend doesn't like combat all that much or likes light combat, this game's definitely for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would describe it that way. Okay. Well, we have a little bit of time. We have like 5 or 6 minutes. So let's do some Q&A here. I mentioned a few weeks ago that I didn't want to do Name That Game every episode. I wanted to open up some Q&A time in the show going forward. And here we are. basically the next to last episode of 2024. So I want to open up the floor for you guys to ask some questions if you want to. You can ask about the games we already covered if we didn't cover something you're interested in, or you can ask us about whatever you want. But we're here to answer a couple questions for the next 5 minutes at least or so. And again, I don't think we'll be able to do this on Monday because we have a lot to get through on Monday. We have a shorter episode of GameFace and then our Game of the Year awards. So this is probably your last chance to ask us some questions if you want to. But if not, we can end the show here as well. I don't see any coming into the chat, unfortunately.
Give it a minute.
Silkshank says, as a boring man in the real world, this is my way to enjoy dressing up in fabulous clothes and enjoy fashion and design. Okay, that's totally fine.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Nightwing 3060. So it's Macy's versus the Gap versus Hot Topic.
A little bit.
I guess there's a little bit of that in there for sure.
If Macy's was really into cottagecore.
Yeah. Here's a great question from Cinetyke. What do you feel is the next big challenge in the gaming industry for 2025? For me,
firing
it's
everybody.
not keeping people employed, but also finding a route to make paid games or continue for paid games to continue to be successful. Because it really feels like we're getting to a point where, like, a lot of the games, I mean, we saw it with the People's Choice Awards for the Game Awards, that 3 of the games were, like, free-to-play gotcha games. Like, I feel like in 2025, a big goal would be to turn that around. And let's say next year, 4 of the 5 are paid games, and the one game that isn't paid is, like, the best free-to-play game from the year.
Well, like, one of those games is Genshin Impact. Give me a fucking break.
I know. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry you can't move on to something that came out this year for your fucking Player's Choice thing, but come on.
I mean, also, I would guess Genshin Impact is probably lining Jeff's pockets pretty favorably.
Well, this is a player voted. This is the public voted
right.
thing.
But I'm sure he doesn't have an aversion to including the game, knowing that they are big partners.
Well, I mean, if Shadow of the Erd Tree can be in it, like
all bets are
off there. So,
what about you? What do you want to see in 2025?
I would like to see fewer people lose their fucking jobs.
Yeah, I think we will. I think we're on.
Like, I would like to see somebody realize that, like, it's better to have a regular guaranteed revenue, even if it's not making endless gas money, than, like, you know, like, there's a space for these single player games. There's a space for, like, things that are just reliably going to sell 5 million copies. And you need to foster the new talent by having these small team games and these smaller games come out, because otherwise you have no farm league.
Yeah,
you need to have a minor league. You need to have the NCAA. You need to have that, and otherwise you're never going to get. You're chasing these $1 billion IPs. You're trying to manufacture out of whole cloth, and that way lies Concord.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. Yeah, and we don't want any more of that. One Concord with plenty. Let's see, Vincent. How bad would it be if Fortnite suddenly did become unpopular and go under? Epic would likely have problems, and Unreal Engine even just stopped development. Would that be bad for games and even some media in general? I mean, it would be bad for the industry if Fortnite suddenly
that would definitely have shockwaves.
Oh, the lack of funds coming into the industry.
Yeah, I just don't see what would cause that.
I don't either. They would have to be a gigantic mistake by Epic. Of epic proportions. Yeah. It has to be a mistake of epic proportions for something to happen to Fortnite at this point.
Obviously never say never, but I struggle to think of what would make that happen.
Yep. Toon Medic, what is your most anticipated...
I guess if they let Trump do the State of the Union address on it, maybe that would do it.
Yeah.
Let's not manifest that.
No, let's not even mention it. Toon Medic, what is your most anticipated game and or gaming tech for 2025? That's part of our Game of the Year award, so we won't answer that here. But if you come back on Monday, it won't be a Pacific 4 p.m. Eastern. You'll get our picks for that. Drifter J, Matt, why did they stop making the X-Men Legends Marvel Alliance games? Well, they made one not that long ago for Switch.
Yeah, they made the one for Switch. It didn't do all that well.
Yeah.
They stopped making the originals because basically Marvel was a pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah.
And it became too difficult to deal with because of the separation of X-Men and all that.
Yeah.
And then Marvel Heroes launched, and that kind of took that kind of did the same thing as an online game.
Yeah.
Watch Matt McMuscle's like what happened about those games, and he explains a lot of it in great detail with interviews from people who worked on the stuff, and it's all very interesting. Basically, it was like the story of the Marvel license bouncing around from place to place over the years is really weird and depressing and strange.
And hard to follow.
It is. And like, I mean, they can't even get those things back up on storefronts for more than 6 months at a time at this point. And I would argue that in terms of having it out today, part of the problem is it was only on Switch. and wasn't really clear what it was. And it was.
I'd be surprised if it's ported to other consoles.
It would have been by now.
Yeah, maybe Nintendo locked that down for good.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a mix of that and just nobody giving a shit because it wasn't successful enough to bother.
Yeah, that's true.
And like also look at something like Midnight Suns, which was really excellent and didn't do well at all.
Yeah.
It's just not really It's also interesting it's a good reason to ignore people that say that Marvel Rivals was a guarantee because of the IP, because the IP is not a guarantee of success.
No, definitely
in the
not.
video game space at all.
It's really not. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I would like to see more of them because I do like like a Path of Exile 2 quality Marvel game of that genre would be something special.
That's a great call. Actually.
Marvel's already shut down. I mean, Marvel Heroes 2015 pretty much was that, and they already shut it down. But that was a different time, and that was kind of around the time they were very irritated with that company. What was that? Gazillion?
Yeah.
Did that? Marvel was very irritated because their contract for that game predated the Marvel's policy of basically isolating the X-Men and Fantastic Four because Fox had them for the movie rights and they wanted to focus on the MCU. And so Gazillion would just put X-Men stuff and Fantastic Four stuff in whenever they wanted, and Marvel really was looking for an excuse to shut them down and basically killed the contract.
Okay.
Which is a shame because that was a great game.
Yeah.
It nailed playing as those characters in a way that very few games ever have.
It's a shame. Yeah.
In fact, watching Marvel Rivals makes me think of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they put so much thought into how these characters should play to feel like themselves. And Marvel Heroes did that too. And it's nice to see it in Marvel Rivals. I wish we had more games that did that weren't like these big $200 million Insomniac productions. Which, by the way, it turns out that Spider-Man 1 made them like $3.9 billion in revenue, with you like factoring in all merchandise and game sales and probably bundled PlayStations and shirts, anything with the PlayStation version of Spider-Man or whatever. And it's like, and you still laid people off after Spider-Man 2? Really? You're really going to do that? Like, that first game should have paid for Insomniac, whatever Insomniac wanted to do for the next 20 years.
That's another thing I want in 2025, a smarter Sony PlayStation. Yeah. Okay, maybe
I hope you get it, but I feel like we're going to all be sitting around waiting for this game of chicken with GTA 6 to stop until we know what's happening next year.
Congrim1 is going through the site to buy a beer for the holidays better monetarily. Everything that you want to do with us as far as money is concerned is better at donate.sifted.net because that is our processor, and we lose a cut because everybody does if you process credit cards, but we're losing a double cut pretty much anywhere else that you give us money. Patreon, we lose a double cut. Honestly, like I see a lot of people, and I'm actually going to flip to my camera here to talk about this. I see a lot of people who subscribe right here on Twitch and give Twitch $4 or $5 a month or whatever, and we appreciate that very much. Any amount of money you give us, anywhere you give it to us, we appreciate it a ton. But we are getting so little of that money. Like, it's actually kind of shocking to me when I go and we're cutting Factor, we go and we get the whole list of our Twitch subscribers, and there are just dozens and dozens of people who, instead of subscribing with us through Patreon, are subscribing here on Twitch, and we get hardly any of that money. Like, it's cool with Twitch Prime because technically Twitch is giving us $4 and we get like $2.50 of the $4, but that's free for you guys. You're not spending money. But when you're trying to give us your $4 or $5 through Twitch is taking almost like half of that money. So the better way always to support us is either Patreon, which does kind of double dip on the cut, but the best way to do it is go to donate.sifted.net. And honestly, if all of you guys never wanted to be a part of Patreon ever again, and instead of doing that, just gave us $50 through donate.sifted.net per year, that's way better for us, honestly. And we're actually kind of kicking around the idea right now of maybe reviving our old subscription system in a way that it's like Patreon. So you guys would be able to choose how much you want to give us per month, and then it would just automatically deduct. This is something that we're discussing behind the scenes right now. It's not set in stone. It's just something that we're kicking around because, in all honesty, we're just sick of these places taking a cut of our money for nothing. Patreon is just a credit card processor. It hasn't helped us in any way. It was supposed to do a bunch of stuff for us. It never did any of it. And they're just like, we're just going to take their money for nothing, really. And so in a lot of ways, I do regret going to Patreon. We've lost a ton of money to Patreon when we probably should have just maybe invested a little bit more money in our old subscription system to make it work like Patreon. So anyway, the best thing you can do is go to donate.sifted.net. There you can pay with a PayPal or with any credit card in over 100 countries. And you can just punch in the exact amount you want to give us, click, and we just lose the cut from our credit card processing. It's the best way to do it. But again, I want to go back to say, however you give us money, we're totally cool with it. Some people just want to give it to Twitch, and if that's the case, that's fine. I'm just letting you know kind of the facts and how that stuff all works, so you know going forward. So anyway, there's lots of stuff coming in 2025, but I don't want to commit to a lot of it yet because a lot of it feels nebulous. And we're also just working on the replatforming still. Like, we still have bugs from the replatforming that we're working through. I'm sure you guys have seen some of them. Like, there's some modules that appear on the site where, like, the 1-up and the comment count doesn't appear on the module. There's a bunch of stuff we're working on. So we need to get through all that stuff, and then we can start working on the other stuff. And I'm not going to promise anything until we get into 2025, where I have a little more clarity. So anyway, just some stuff going on behind the scenes, but it's always better to try to cut out the middleman if you want to help us out with money. And again, we appreciate you guys no matter how you give us money or how much money you give us. So there you go. And with that, I think we are out of time now. So that's it for our Q&A for episode 415. That's it for episode 415, actually. Don't forget, don't forget that we will be back Monday right here at the same spot at twitch.tv/SIFTD at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. It will be the last episode of GameFace for 2024. It will be a much shorter episode than normal. We'll talk about like one game and talk about some of the Game Awards stuff. And then we'll break down for a couple minutes. And then we'll go on and we'll do our own Game of the Year awards for 2024. Can't wait to see you guys then. So have a great week filled with great games. We'll see you next Monday. GameFace is up and out.